Hey there, want to make your voice heard at a Board of Supervisors meeting? We're all ears. Here's how you can get involved. First, hop online and look at the agendas. This will give you the scoop on what's coming up before the board. Each agenda item includes a brief description of the issue, the recommendations, and potential impacts. If you need more detail, check out the detailed reports online. Those are called board letters. Then, decide if you want to speak at Tuesday's general legislative session or Wednesday's land use session. You'll have 3 opportunities to have your say. Let's start with non-agenda public comment. This is your chance to talk about things that aren't on the agenda, but try and keep your topic related to county government. For non-agenda public comments, you can speak at either the Tuesday or Wednesday session, but not both. So pick your day accordingly. And keep in mind, the board can't act on the spot. They'll refer your comments to the Chief Administrative Officer, who will look into the issue. Last thing, the board will hear from the first 10 speakers, 5 in person and 5 by phone at the beginning of the session. Then all the remaining speakers will get their chance to speak after the discussion items. During the consent agenda, the board handles a bunch of routine items with 1 vote. If you want to comment on an item, keep it simple. For example, I'm John Doe speaking on item 5, and I agree with approving the contract. Discussion items are the main event where the board debates before making a decision. Want to speak at one of the meetings? It's really easy. Just hop online and fill out a quick request form at publiccomment.sandiegocounty.gov. Pick the meeting you're interested in, hit the register button, then fill in your details. Make sure to include a phone number if you plan on speaking by phone. Prefer speaking at the podium in the board chamber? No problem. Just pick the in-person option. After that, just check off the agenda items you want to talk about and let them know you're for, against, or neutral on them. Hit register and you're good to go. A confirmation email will land in your inbox to wrap it up. If you're speaking by phone, the email will include the instructions for how to dial in. Be sure to submit your request early. Once public comment begins on the agenda item, we can't take any more requests to speak. And if you have documents, hand them to the deputy clerk when it's your turn to speak at the podium. Now, you get 2 minutes to speak, but if lots of people want to talk, it might get cut to 1 minute. So, you might want to consider writing 2 sets of comments, one for 2 minutes, another one for 1. That way, if time's cut, you won't be scrambling. There's also a countdown clock at the podium to keep you on track. Once you're at the podium, stay on topic. Stick to the current agenda item. If you stray off topic, you might get a gentle nudge to get back to the point. Keep your comments related to the agenda item's recommendations because that's what the board is relying on to make a decision. Also, speak directly to the board. They're the ones making the decision. When your time's up, it's up. Overstaying might mean getting muted or even asked to leave. Now for some ground rules. For safety, keep aisles and doorways clear. If there isn't a seat, head across the hall to room 302 or the 4th floor balcony to watch the meeting. Respect is huge. Everyone should feel heard. That means you, other speakers, and the Board of Supervisors. Disruptive behavior gets 1 warning, and after that, a deputy sheriff might show you the door. So let's keep it respectful. Your voice matters, and we want to hear from you. Remember, we're all here to make a difference.
Protection District and County Successor Agency regular meetings to order. We would like to take a moment to acknowledge the land we call home. There are communities in the San Diego region that faced unjust conditions and circumstances related to the environments in which they live. The tribal nations of the San Diego region are an example of one community that has historically faced such injustices. We acknowledge the harmony that existed between the land, nature, and its original peoples who have since endured displacement, persecution, and systemic oppression. We pay our respect to the unceded territory and homelands of the 18 tribal nations in our region, the most in any county in the United States. We aspire to learn from Indigenous traditional knowledge and experiences in undoing the injustices of the past. Andrew, please call the roll for today's session.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer. Supervisor Anderson. Supervisor Montgomery-Stepp.
Here.
Supervisor Desmond.
Here.
Vice Chair Lawson-Remer.
Here. We will now have Reverend Cindy Jones deliver the invocation and Sebastian Pardo lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand for the invocation and pledge.
Let's breathe in grace and exhale peace. Breathe in grace and exhale peace. Holy One, source of our being, we know that you are ever present. You're always with us. We know that our very lives are from your gracious love. The air we breathe, the water we drink. We know that everyone likes to be invited to the party. So today we invite you to be among us, to join with us in our deliberations. We invite your gracious, fun-loving, generous, creative spirit to bring joy to our work. Be ever present and help us to remember that we are fearfully and wonderfully made in your image, one of love and compassion, generosity and wisdom. Give us a burning desire for your justice and mercy. Drive far from this place all anger, fear, violence, greed, or anything else that is not from you, so that all that remains is your will for your people. We ask you to bless us, so that we may be a blessing to all we meet along the way, knowing that everyone we encounter is a reflection of you. May you always delight in our work, and that we may find favor in your sight. Most of all, we thank you for bringing us to this day, a day filled with hope, promise, and opportunity, a day filled with your glory. All glory and honor is yours now and forever. Amen.
Please place your right hand over your heart. Let us begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We will now proceed with the proclamations. The first proclamation will be given by myself, honoring Alzheimer's Disease and Brain Awareness Month. Accepting the proclamation will be Julie Collins. I'll make some remarks and then you'll make some remarks. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Today, I'm honored to present this proclamation recognizing June as Alzheimer's Disease and Brain Awareness Month here in San Diego County. Many of us know someone who's been affected by Alzheimer's, a parent, a grandparent, a neighbor, or a friend. We've seen how this disease changes lives, and we've also seen the strength, the love, and the quiet courage of the people who step up to care. Right now, more than 100,000 people in our region are living with Alzheimer's. That number is rising, especially in communities of color, and too often people go undiagnosed, left without answers, without support, and without a path forward. At the same time, family members are stepping in. They're driving to appointments, managing medications, answering the same questions day after day, and doing it with patience and love. In California, caregivers provide nearly 2 billion hours of unpaid care every year. That is a silent workforce, one that's holding up our healthcare system, often at an extraordinary personal cost. But there is hope, and it starts with research. We have scientists working on early detection, new treatments are in clinical trials, families are enrolling, not just for themselves, but to help the next generation. That's why the National Institutes of Health is so critical. Every dollar cut from NIH funding delays the breakthroughs families are counting on. Here in San Diego, we're lucky to have strong partners to fill the gaps. The Alzheimer's Association of San Diego and Imperial Counties are doing incredible work, guiding families through care, advocating for equity, and pushing for the resources we need to move forward. So today we celebrate that work, we honor the progress being made, and we recommit to the fight for better care, stronger support, and a future where this disease no longer defines so many lives. So now, therefore, be it proclaimed by members of the San Diego County Board of Supervisors on this 24th day of June, 2025, that we commend Alzheimer's Association of San Diego and Imperial Counties for their outstanding service, leadership, and commitment to the citizens of San Diego. I do hereby declare this month to be Alzheimer's Disease and Brain Awareness Month throughout San Diego County.
Hello all, I'm Julie Collins. I'm a board member of the San Diego and Imperial County chapter of the Alzheimer's Association. I'm joined by a few of my fellow board members and staff from the association this morning. On behalf of our chapter, we are very honored and grateful to accept this proclamation from the County of San Diego, recognizing June as Alzheimer's and Dementia Awareness Month. This recognition is so impactful and important because there are nearly 7 million Americans age 65 and over with Alzheimer's disease. Data also shows that 75,000 of those Americans are residents of San Diego County. Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month was created to bring awareness to and honor those individuals, as well as the many more millions of family and friends who are caregiving for someone with a disease. The Alzheimer's Association leads the way to end Alzheimer's and all other dementia by accelerating global research, driving risk reduction and early detection, and maximizing quality care and support. Here in San Diego County, we support our community by conducting educational programs for caregivers and people who recently received an Alzheimer's diagnosis, fundraising for research initiatives that will improve existing treatment options and identify a cure, and letting state and federal policymakers know what they can do to support our community. And we do all of this with the goal of cultivating a community that is connected, resilient, and informed about navigating the many challenges of Alzheimer's and dementia. Over the last 12 months, our chapter has been able to provide free resources and support through our educational programs and support groups to 6,500 individuals in our county. We also host an annual Walk to End Alzheimer's fundraiser here in San Diego County, bringing together over 2,500 members of our community for what we view as our largest support group that also happens to be an incredibly impactful fundraising event with the goal of supporting Alzheimer's research nationally and here at home. Here in San Diego County alone, the Alzheimer's Association is proud to be funding more than $20 million in research of Alzheimer's and dementia through our world-class research institutions. Once again, thank you so much to the County of San Diego for recognizing June as Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month. I'm hopeful and confident that through our collective efforts, one day soon, we will end Alzheimer's together. Thank you.
The final proclamation will be given by Supervisor Desmond, honoring the Foundation for Care Integration. Accepting the proclamation will be Tara Izzo.
Thank you. Well, good morning. It is a true pleasure to welcome the Executive Director and founder of the Foundation for Care Integration. This is Tara Izzo, and her wonderful leadership team came down all the way this morning from Vista. So I want to thank you for being here and giving compassionate care to our veterans and senior communities. I'm grateful to have awarded grant funds to those who have given so much to our community through this Foundation for Care Integration. Our veterans have served with courage and sacrifice, while our seniors have built foundations for our communities throughout a lifetime of hard work and wisdom. The Foundation for Care Integration proudly stands with both, guiding them through healthcare, housing, and emotional support with compassion and respect. So staffed by professionals, the volunteers who often share these lived experiences, the Foundation for Care Integration meets veterans and seniors where they are, offering personalized care in community spaces throughout the region. So through grassroots outreach and a trusted face-to-face engagement, FCI brings peace of mind to those who have given so much, enduring and ensuring that they are never alone to navigate complex situations and always being honored. The Foundation Legacy Court program connects young volunteers with seniors, particularly veterans' families, through one-on-one partnerships. And using a cohort model, it recruits and trains volunteers from local schools, colleges, and civic groups to support elders in their community. So the Foundation for Care Integration, is known for its strong commitment to closing the care gaps and honoring those who have served and shaped our future. While the County of San Diego, we are committed to honoring those organizations who are dedicated to the best ideals of public service, and the Foundation for Care Integration is one such worthy organization. So therefore, be it proclaimed by myself and all the members of the San Diego County Board of Supervisors on this 24th day of June 2025 that we commend Tara Izzo and the Foundation for Care Integration team for their outstanding service, leadership, and commitment to the citizens of San Diego County, and do hereby declare this day to be the Foundation for Care Integration Day throughout San Diego County. Congratulations, Tara. Thank you very much.
Thank you so
you're
much.
Welcome. You're welcome. I'd like to hold on to that. You have a couple of words?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Supervisor Jim Desmond. You've been a great support to us. And thank you, supervisors, for having us here today. It's an honor to serve our community. I've been in this community most of my life, and it's just such a pleasure to be part of the veterans community and be able to help people in the capacity that we do. My name is Tara Izzo. This is Jeannie Grossbeck. We are the founders of FCI Caring. And this is Riley Quinn. She is our program manager. And this is Sebastian Pardo. He is our CEO. This program that Jim Desmond has been supporting for us is going to put 12,000 hours of volunteerism into San Diego community for veterans and their family members. What we're going to do is provide respite care to families that desperately need that support so that they can keep their loved ones at home. And that is our goal, is for people to age in place in their place of residence and not have to be institutionalized early because of things that we can meet and needs that we can meet. Most recently, we got a call from Meals on Wheels, and they had a 75-year-old woman. She's got dementia, and she was becoming unhoused, and she was going to be on the street for about a week and a half before we could find housing for her. And so they requested us just fund a hotel room for her. How simple is that? So we put her up in a hotel room for a week and a half. On top of that, I assigned her a case manager through her Medi-Cal benefit that's going to follow her for a year to help her stay housed so she doesn't become unhoused again. And now she's going to have that support of care coordinator. I love the mistake in changed the name because it should be called the Foundation for Care Coordination, because that's exactly what we do. We coordinate care and services for people at risk and at-risk populations. We just recently got a county grant. It's an equity grant to look at the BPOP population and to make sure that we can serve that population specifically with housing navigation. And I think Jim Desmond's a great partner for us because his love for veterans and love for people, getting people housed, where we can partner with different county members to give them case management, to help them navigate all of the services that are available, but sometimes are not connected to each other. And that's what we do. Our goal is to help people age in place with dignity. And thank you for your partnership, and thank you for your support.
Thanks, Tara. Yeah, thank you. We'll do a little picture up here.
We will now proceed with non-agenda public communication. This is an opportunity for the public to address the board on subject matters within the board's jurisdiction, but not an item on the meeting agenda. The only action that the board may take is a referral to the Chief Administrative Officer. Under the board's rules, speakers can only speak once per meeting for non-agenda public communication, either today's general legislative session or tomorrow's land use legislative session, but not both sessions. Speakers may select which session to address the board at their convenience. To facilitate our meeting, we will have 5 non-agenda speakers in person and 5 by phone. In order to ensure fairness, the first 5 in-person speakers will be randomly selected. The remainder will be heard at the close of today's session. In accordance with board rules, for any discussion item with 10 or more speakers, individuals will have 1 minute to share their opinion. A reminder that according to Rule 4A, members of the public that are non-English speaking and need interpretation assistance will receive twice the allotted time for their comments. As a final reminder, audience members shall not whistle, clap, stomp feet, or do anything to disrupt the proceedings. If you disrupt the meeting, you will be given 1 warning. After that 1 warning, if you disrupt the meeting again, you will be directed to leave the chamber for the remainder of the meeting. Andrew, please call the speakers.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer. We have 19 requests to speak on matters not listed on the agenda, 8 in person, and 11 requesting to speak by phone. For those that requested to speak by phone, please dial into the conference line using the instructions provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers, and we'll now randomly select the first 5 speakers in person. All the remaining speakers will be heard at the conclusion of today's session. As your name is called, please come forward and stand on the arrows until it is your turn to speak at the podium. You will have 2 minutes to address the board. I'll ask you to begin by stating your name for the audio record. I'd like to invite forward the first 5 individuals: Paul Dunlap, Christine Guess, Ken Pineda, allegedly Audra, and Ricky R. If I've called your name, please come forward.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. My name is Paul Dunlap. I live in San Marcos, California, in Jim Desmond's district. I'm a small business owner and the chairman of a small nonprofit called For Better Brains. I'm here today to plead with you all to take a look from a board situation to look at the implementation of SB 43 into the county, the way that it's implemented with the sheriff's department, the deputies, the first responders, including hospital staff, ER staff, the nurses, the doctors. Our small profit does case studies of individuals that are mentally ill, suffering from mental conditions. As an example of the lack of implementation of SB 43, one of our case studies was an individual that was in 48 hours was in ER 3 different times at 3 different locations. The third time in that ER was highly intoxicated, had passed out, and then was just ignored, held in place in the ER for a couple hours, and then released onto the street. The second thing that I'm calling for the board to do is to do an audit or review of the current behavioral health services telecare contract, specifically the way that AOT has been implemented and the lack of efficiency and effectiveness of that program. Once again, I'm from a small nonprofit called For Better Brains. Our whole focus is on filling the small cracks of mental health around the county, mental health care, and then to be a positive change and a positive influence to change, to bring more success of the county programs to curing and stabilizing these individuals so they can live a positive and productive lifestyle. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello, my name is Christine Guess, and I am a mother of Christopher, a young man living with untreated schizophrenia and anosognosia, the inability to recognize he is ill. Christopher was placed on a 5150 psychiatric hold after becoming gravely disabled and entirely detached from reality. Following his hospitalization, he was discharged to transitional housing, but soon left against medical advice and declined all further treatment. With no ongoing support in place, despite clear and documented signs that he would not take medication or seek help voluntarily. Today, he is once again homeless and missing. As a mother, I am urging this board to consider a meaningful modification that could truly help families like mine. I'm proposing a mental health alert similar to a BOLO or Be on the Lookout, but specifically designed to protect and support individuals living with serious mental illness. This alert would notify law enforcement that the individual is vulnerable and in need of compassionate, trained response instead of arrest or dismissal. Officers would be instructed to contact the psychiatric emergency response team so mental health professionals can intervene. This could save lives, restore dignity, and give families a way to keep track of loved ones before it is too late. SB 43 was supposed to help, but so far there has been no meaningful impact for families like mine. Please, we are not asking for the impossible. We are asking for compassionate coordination and real change. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning. My name is Ken Panetta. I'm a resident of District 2, live in Alpine, and I'm currently a County of San Diego electrician. I'm also a Teamster member and negotiator for Local 986. I am currently involved in labor negotiations with DHR at the County of San Diego. The Teamsters, alongside with the Department of Human Resources, came to a mutual a tentative proposal last Wednesday, which we all believe will result in a fair 3-year contract for all its employees that are all represented in bargaining units CR and CM. I am here before you today to ask the board to review and approve our proposals so that we can take this offer to our members for a vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. Allegedly, Audra and Ricky R.
So I want to see if Evelyn can go. Her children have been kidnapped by the county, and she needs to do a visit with her children.
Audra, under the board's rules, you cannot yield your time to other speakers, so we called, if you'd like to speak.
I'm asking if you would be respectful of her and the fact that her children have been taken by the county, and if she can speak to you guys, and I will go at the end of the day, because she has to go do a visit with her children. And you can actually do that. You know you can.
Okay. According to Andrew, who's the parliamentarian, he said it's my discretion, and I'm happy to allow you to make that trade.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Good morning, San Diego Predators. My name is Ricky Robinson. I'm the RFA-approved grandfather of 2 little girls who were kidnapped by this regime you call child welfare. Let me be clear, my granddaughters are not for sale, and they are not up for adoption. They have a loving family. They have a safe home. They have a place where they belong. You have terrorized me, my entire family, and traumatized these children. You tore them away from their mother, from their father, from their great-grandmother with dementia, who lights up every time she sees them. You replace love with strangers and lies, and you punish us when we speak the truth. David Miller has lied in reports, retaliated over a photo, and used these children as tools for revenge. And the county has let this happen. I've seen these girls cry for their family. I've heard them say, "I want my daddy. Let me stay, Grandpa. I will never stop fighting. I don't care what you call yourselves. You're not God. You don't get to steal blood and call it protection. I would die for them if I have to, because no one terrorizes my family and walks away untouched. Remove David Miller. Reunify these children. Thank you."
Thank you. Evelyn Lopez.
Good morning, child predators. My name is Evelyn Lopez. I am a Latina mother who has suffered through trauma, postpartum, and now a custody system that uses my pain against me. I was diagnosed, I have done the work, and I have shown up for every requirement they have given me. But instead of support, I've been silenced. Instead of compassion, I've been punished. And instead of being reunited with my daughters, I have been treated like a problem that needs to disappear. I have completed my entire case plan. I did everything the court and social workers asked. But no matter what I do, I am punished for speaking out, for asking questions, for showing emotion. When I'm crying, I'm unstable. But when I don't show any emotions, I don't care enough. I was told to leave my home where my daughters felt safe and loved, and to separate from the only family that supports me, or I would lose them forever. I am being forced into isolation. Meanwhile, social worker David Miller retaliated against me for things I didn't even write, things I didn't even share online in a peaceful protest, and submitted them to the court to make us look dangerous or unfit. David Miller has trapped me in rooms, emotionally manipulated, and told me that my children would be adopted if I don't fall in line. I've been harassed, gaslit, and threatened, not for harming my children, but for having the courage to keep fighting for them. I am here to say I am not giving up. I am their mother, and I know in my heart my daughters were not taken for their safety. They were taken because I didn't break down. Because I keep standing up. This system should not be tearing families apart. It should be healing them, not destroying them. I'm asking you to investigate this, to see us before more children are lost to this kind of abuse. Thank you for taking advantage of me.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We'll now hear from those that requested to speak by phone. Again, in accordance with the board's rules, we'll be hearing from the first 5 callers. The remaining callers will be heard at the conclusion of today's session. When it is your turn to speak, you will be unmuted and you will hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments. We'll begin with our first caller.
Back to basics. You keep mentioning stakeholders, so I looked up the definition, and this is what I got. The stakeholders of the San Diego County Board of Supervisors are diverse and include individuals and organizations within San Diego County who are affected by or involved in the county's policies and operations. This can include residents, businesses, community organizations, nonprofit groups, and even tribal governments. Let me repeat, residents. The Board of Supervisors is responsible for making decisions that impact the entire county, so their stakeholders encompass a wide range of interests. So for you to continually ignore the individuals, and I remember when there were hundreds opposed and 1 in favor and the motion passed, not reconsidered, but passed. So for you to ignore the individuals is absolutely gross. You need to get good at truly democratic functioning. After that, how good can it get? And I expect you to be fair and balanced. Pros and cons, include them in the text. Don't be like salespeople. And let's have something a bit different.
Thank you. For the record, that speaker was Paul. Now hear from the next caller.
Swallow. You know, it's deeply offensive that this board opens the meetings by acknowledging the indigenous tribes of the region, the original stewards of this land, while continuing the exact same pattern of dispossession, persecution, and betrayal that those people endured. To acknowledge the tribes without changing the system that still exploits the land and still disrespects the people, that's not justice. That's performative hypocrisy. And it doesn't stop there. Some of you, the same ones who marched proudly in the anti-Trump protests, also turned around and mandated an experimental injection delivered by that very same man at warp speed. You cheered it, you forced it, and you never apologized to the ones who had horrible outcomes because of it and are suffering today. You continue to manipulate this county recklessly, divisively, and always on the taxpayer's dime. Now we see another wasteful election for District 1 seat handed to Paloma, thanks to Tara, as if the outcome was never in question, because it wasn't. The government is so corrupt, so predictable, it doesn't even try to hide anymore. It lies to our faces and it gets away with it because the people are too exhausted just trying to survive in a system that was never meant to be livable. We have mothers begging legislators not to steal the very funds they use to educate their children, money that already belongs to the people. They shouldn't have to beg. They should be supported, but the system despises the family unit. You've broken in are the last constantly uses words like safety, sustainability, equity, but it's not about that. This is about.
Thank you. Now hear from the next caller.
Welcome one, welcome all. If anyone wants to know whether or not our Board of Supervisors are covering up foreign interference in our election, all you have to do is compare both of the recall elections. Whereas in our first recall election, every single person voted on both topics. That was back in 2003, the governor election. Now let's fast forward, 2021. Let's go back. 2020, I go to Helen Robinson-Meyer's office. I tell them this. Foreign entities could go ahead and do it. Primarily the CCP. I get escorted off the premises. Day one. This is when I came up with this plan. Assholes. Governor Newsom's election. 43% of the people did not vote for the second item. Please explain why you didn't investigate. Please explain why you kept this hidden from everyone. Please explain why you filed a restraining order on me without addressing my concerns. Please explain why you are helping foreign countries commit voter fraud in our elections and covering it up. Please explain. What, nothing? You're going to continue hiding this. You know Kash Patel's report is out. You know it's a matter of time. And you know every action you took against me will get you thrown in jail if you don't do anything. So, please explain right now. I'll refrain from cursing. Explain yourself, Jim. You told me to find the evidence myself. I told you foreign countries were screwing with our elections. Please explain.
For the record, that speaker identified themselves as Gambler Hermes. We'll now hear from the next caller.
morning. This is Peggy Walker. I'm here to express deep public health concern over this board's use of taxpayer dollars to enable more permitted marijuana retailers in rural areas when changing the existing ordinance to add more pot shops to unincorporated areas has not been approved. It's alarming that the county awarded $2.4 million on a contract to promote rural pot enterprise to people who do not live there. Records show the money was granted to a team of pot industry supporters. Some marijuana business applicants or operators openly touting a pro-industry message. These people were awarded $2.4 million, some of which was used to educate kids about the perils of pot. This is nonsensical. You wouldn't fund R.J. Reynolds to educate kids about tobacco. It's beyond comprehension to pay pot industry spokespeople to educate kids against pot use. And how did that contract go to a sole source when that's against county rules? This action demands accountability as adolescent rates of pot-related psychosis and suicides climb. You were right, Mom. I couldn't handle the marijuana anymore, the teen boy wrote in his suicide note. I'm sorry. Your actions, Supervisor, contribute to every future case like this, to every marijuana-related disorder, illness, or psychotic break. By taking advantage of the credulous and weak-willed and uninformed who think things will get better, only to find pot use overpowers their lives and sometimes end it. Please reconsider. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the final caller this morning.
Barbara Gordon. I am concerned as a health educator with the growing body of scientific evidence raising serious concerns about the health impact of marijuana use. Public health messaging is crucial to educate users about these risks, particularly as the county is advocating for this drug as they look to permit more marijuana business in the unincorporated area. According to a new editorial published recently in Heart, which is a peer-reviewed journal of the British Medical Journal and the British Cardiovascular Society, that they report marijuana use has emerged as a significant risk factor for cardiovascular disease, drawing attention from researchers and healthcare professionals alike. The compound in marijuana, particularly THC, can lead to increased heart rate and blood pressure, straining the cardiovascular system. The potency of marijuana, particularly measured by THC concentrate, can significantly affect cardiovascular in several ways. Studies have indicated that marijuana use may have a higher risk of heart attack and stroke, especially in individuals with pre-existing conditions. Moreover, the method of consumption, such as smoking, can exacerbate risk due to the inhalation of harmful substances that affect lung health. Understanding the relationship between marijuana use and cardiovascular health is essential for you as you make informed decisions and the risk management to this drug. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. And Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that concludes the request for non-agenda public communication this morning. And again, all remaining speakers will be heard at the conclusion of today's session.
Okay, thank you very much. The next item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes and statements of proceedings for the sessions of June 3rd, 2025, June 4, and June 9th, 2025, the special meeting of June 9th, the Housing Authority meeting June 4th, In-Home Support of Public Service Authority meeting of June 3rd and June 9th, and Redevelopment Successor Agents meeting January 28th, all of 2025. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Please vote.
And Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present and voting aye.
Okay, we now proceed with the formation of the consent agenda. This is items 1 through 5. All items on the consent agenda are routine and will be acted upon with one motion. Individuals can comment on the consent agenda after any supervisors pull any items they would like for discussion or make any comments. So Supervisor Anderson, do you have any comments or any items to pull?
Not at this time, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Supervisor Desmond?
Yes, I've got comments on 1 and 3, and I want to pull item 4. On number 1, this is travel to Vienna for social housing field study. I don't think supervisors need to travel to Vienna to study housing. I think we know what we need to do to build more housing. We've got to get rid of VMT. We've got to, and regulations like CEQA that raise costs and limit housing here in California. So that being said, it's your own offices, so I'm going to let you make those decisions on that one. Also then on item 3, the employee compensation agreement. I'll vote in favor of item 3, but I want to voice my opposition for the record to changing the reserve policy or reserves to accommodate one-time payments detailed in item E of the fiscal impact on page 4 of this item. And with that, I'll move to I'll hold off on the motion.
Okay, thank you very much. Supervisor Montgomery Stepp?
Thank you so much. I'll move approval of the consent agenda. No need to pull any items and no comments. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion by Supervisor Montgomery Stepp. I have no items to pull either. We will take item 4 separately. So the motion is for items 1, 2, and 3 only, and I'm happy to second. So with that, we'll go to public comment.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer. And before we go to public comment, I would like to read the statement into the record. Pursuant to Government Code Section 54953, prior to taking final action, the legislative body shall orally report a summary of a recommendation for a final action on the salary or compensation paid in the form of fringe benefits of local agency executives. Agenda item 2 includes a salary adjustment for Ebony Shelton as the Chief Administrative Officer with an hourly rate of $197.51, Tamika Nelson as the Probation Chief with an hourly rate of $137.61, and Andrew Potter as the Clerk of the Board with an hourly rate of $113.55. With that read into the record, we will now go to public comment. We do have 12 total requests to speak on items on the consent agenda, 4 individuals in person, and 8 requesting to speak by phone. As a reminder, item 4 was pulled from the consent agenda for discussion. So any individuals that request to speak on that item, please hold your comments until the board discusses that item. We will receive public comment on that item separately. For any of the individuals that requested to speak on the remaining of the items on the consent agenda by phone, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll go ahead and begin with the in-person speakers. As your name is called, please come forward and stand on the arrows until it is your turn to speak at the podium. You'll then have 2 minutes to address the board. Please begin by stating your name for the record. When speaking, please identify which items you are speaking about. I'd like to invite forward the following individuals: allegedly Audra, Evelyn Lopez, and Mark.
Mark, regarding 1, Joel and Monica want to travel to Austria for participation in the fall 2025 Global Policy Leadership Academy's Vienna Social Housing Field Study. This is literally UN Agenda 21. I mean that very literally for those out there that aren't familiar. You need to see these videos. This is totally wrong. In the first place, they never address anything that's important. Wealth inequality in America, you need to see these videos on YouTube, these titles. You need to see Zeitgeist Addendum from 6 minutes and 40 seconds to 24 minutes to understand how they're completely ripping you off. They're turning us into a third world country. And if you have the time, this is a full actual documentary on the Federal Reserve and the World Bank. It's 35 years old. Excellent. You also need to see this to realize how real this is. This is Klaus Schwab saying he's infiltrated governments. And Tara's doing his bidding here. And as are many other government leaders, including Newsom. And that is not all right. Now I've mentioned many times that for a 50th of the cost, we could 3D print houses. We could not subsidize the other 2/3 of the rent with taxpayers' money. They don't care about helping and keeping costs low for the public. This is a way to rip us off and make money. So people need to see these other videos. This from 5 minutes and 28 seconds. This one, these are short. This is always a good one to see. And what this is really doing, we don't need lower cost housing. What we need is for people to make a good livable wage and to have the middle class reappear in America. If you look at a graph in the wealth inequality video, it's horrible. Instead, they're turning us into a third world country where everything's subsidized by the middle class, the poor and the homeless. It's criminal.
Calling allegedly Audra or Evelyn Lopez. Not seeing any movement in chamber. We'll go to Ricky R. Ricky, it's your turn to speak. Okay. Audra, you're welcome to speak too.
My person uses the name Audra. What a day. This is for consent, right? Okay. Talking about going to, Vienna for a social housing study, it's like, I don't know why, no matter how much money you guys spend on homelessness, housing, the problem gets worse because, like I tell you all the time, it's a business, so you don't really have any, point in solving it because then money won't come in. But the fact that, and what does it mean, $20,000 per office budget that is potentially going to be spent? It's kind of like, what does that mean? I mean, it's not very descriptive as far as what you guys are going to spend that money on for a 6-day trip. And it's because you guys like to engage with the United Nations, things like this that are deciding what's happening in our nation. And it's I can't even talk right now because I'm really frustrated about having predators that are the ones that kidnap your children come out and talk to you and what do you do at that point? Somebody raped you and then you go talk to the rapist and be let's figure this out. I mean, Kimberly's failing miserably. She should be fired. I mean, kids are being just the stuff that happens, it's so sad because you guys act like everything is fine. And then you have parents that come up here. I want more parents to come. But they're so traumatized by what you guys do that it's they're terrified of coming here. Why does the system have to be that way? Why is there more profit in tearing families apart than keeping them together? You guys have your families, so you don't have to worry about that. But you damn well don't mind ripping families apart. You don't give a shit. That's the way the system is built.
Thank you. Your time is up. And recalling Evelyn Lopez and Ricky R. one more time. Okay, not seeing them in the chamber. We'll go ahead and move on to our phone callers. If you've requested to speak by phone, when it's your turn to speak, you will be unmuted. Then you will hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments, and we will go ahead and begin with our first caller.
Call about item 3, compensation ordinance. Again, you and the union seem to have totally tossed the equity line, and they're saddling you with $390 million of inequitable raises that we get to pay for. Too many people in the same office getting different percentage increases ranging from 0 to an inflationary 16%. Why are you telling your people you care about them on a sliding scale? Kind of like us, by the way. Please reject these. Now, the Vienna thing. Looks like 2 of you were incited or invited to this housing meeting as a, quote, renowned leader, unquote, where you'll be paying $15,600 plus airfare, hotel, food, and other costs, bringing it up to $40,000 for 2 people for a course given by development consultants, which sounds very much like it might be a targeted business course. And actually, you're already doing what they teach. I'm worried when I see Vienna's internationally recognized social housing model provides over 60% of its residents with affordable housing options, since we do not need affordable housing, that is ghettos, on that scale. There are better uses for $40,000. and compensation adjustments. So in the time of fiscal uncertainty, you want to pay the CAO $410,000 a year and the lock-in salary increase of 3% or more per year for the next 3 years. I do not see what justifies that amount.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go ahead and go to our next speaker.
Going to Vienna to decide what goes on in San Diego. Anyways, Gonzalo here. We're told these salary adjustments are about equity and market alignment, but let's be real, they're all over the place. 0% for some, 16% for stock clerk, 13% proactive services supervisor, but only 3% for the actual PS worker on the ground. Are we rewarding bureaucracy or those actually doing the work? A child support attorney is getting over 3%, perhaps anticipating the wave of lawsuits from the Polinsky scandals, where over 150 children were allegedly abused, I'm pretty sure it's beyond allegedly at this point, molested under the county care. The message here isn't equity, it's cover-up, distraction, and damage control. Okay, so let's talk about the community health raises, community health raises, because clearly you need them after promoting ads and policies that shattered health in our communities, like the bioweapon shot, with the bioweapon shot. Let's see, and meanwhile, let's see, park rangers, they got 11%, maybe that's so they can afford better tents, when they too are laid off in the next manufacturer's budget crisis. So this is not a budget justice, this is a bureaucratic theater. All of this fits neatly into the slow drip of UN Agenda 21 and the goals being met for 2030, where financial imbalance, chaos, and restructuring are intentionally built in to destabilize local systems from the inside out. We're watching, the people are awake, and we are not consenting to a financial shell game, while the most vulnerable, including children, are still waiting for justice. I urge you to reject and be brave enough to stand to real reform. But you won't. I already got that.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go ahead and go to our next speaker.
Good morning. My name is Kathleen Lippett. The dominance of unions have become an anachronism. They no longer serve the purpose for their creation. Today, they work against the interests of the public. Their singular goal of increasing union salaries and benefits results in freezing out independent contractors that can do the work at far lower costs. Every industry, whether it is works in the interest of the public or not, and most of them don't. We even have an industry of lobbyists for the marijuana industry, and it ends up with items like Vienna. That sounds like traveling to Vienna. It's a great summer vacation destination. However, we do not need county staffers spending public money to travel to Vienna. Okay, that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to our next speaker.
ACLU, an NGO group, paved the way for foreign entities to basically control our elections. Our Board of Supervisors no longer work for us. I do not believe that they should approve anything. Matter of fact, I think they should all be held up for criminal thing because they refuse to acknowledge. If you were to remove the 5 million ballots that kept Governor Newsom in his seat, that election would look similar to the governor election. But no, foreign entities do not know that you needed to vote on both of those topics. They only voted on one. So that's why we had 43% of the people not voting on the secondary question. China would not know to do that. if they weren't instructed to do that. Why? Right before, 1 week before it was done, that by the fraudsters was discovered. So they quickly put out a thing way too late to actually get those numbers. Our Board of Supervisors are ignoring the Cash Patel report, ignoring all my warnings, including from day one when I showed up to go talk to Helen Robinson Myers and I was escorted off the premises. I was wearing a Darkwing Duck shirt. Please, find the sheriff that escorted me off, ask her the question she asked me, and my response, yes, I believe foreign entities have been influencing our elections through the vote by mail system, and our Board of Supervisors are covering it up because ACLU and building unions use that same system to get what they want. They ignore all our complaints because they no longer need to listen to us. The fact that...
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next speaker. Next speaker is Marco Espinoza. You may have your device muted.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Marco. Go ahead.
Hi, I apologize. I thought I wasn't speaking until the non-agenda public comment period. I didn't think it indicated for this portion. I apologize.
No problem at all. You can call back at the end of the session for non-agenda public comment. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll go to our next speaker.
Hi, my name is Katrina McDonald. I'm speaking on items 1 and 2, essentially. I'm not in opposition of going to Vienna. I do think additional information about the housing study is necessary, and I am happy to see Supervisor Anderson working with supervisors at Montgomery Step. I am just curious about the cost for the $20,000. More curious about how that figure was created and what the fair and reasonable was for that. And for item 2, I do have a concern with the CAO giving herself a minimum an 18% increase and at max an 84% increase for only a year's worth of experience, essentially. She's making $300,000 and she wants to go up to $400,000, I believe, or... yeah, $410,000. I'm just curious where that number came from and what was in her performance review to justify such an increase with so little of experience. Thank you.
Thank you. And Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that concludes public comment on the items on the consent agenda.
Okay, thank you very much. Those, again, a reminder, I misspoke before. The items on approval for consent are 1, 2, 3, and 5. So that's what we're voting on right now. Item 4 has been pulled. Any additional comments by any of my colleagues? Okay, we can go ahead and vote.
And Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present and voting aye.
Okay, thank you. So as we move forward to today, let me just kind of give a preview of how the meeting's going to proceed. We're going to move to discussion items. In general, we're going to take the agenda in order, but we do have a time certain of 1 o'clock for essentially like budget and budget. So that's a lot of things that are budget. Budget-related items that are taken together include item 6, item 7, Flood District 1, In-Home Services 1, Fire District 2, Sanitation District 1, and Redevelopment 1. Again, the following budget-related items will be taken together. Item 6, item 7, Flood District 1, In-Home Services 1, Fire District 2, Sanitation District 1, and Redevelopment 1. That's a time certain of 1 o'clock. So we will now move, since item 4 is pulled, we'll start with item 4. And then we'll move on to item 8 and item 9. And item 10, and item 11, and I bet you by then we will be at lunch. Okay, yes, so Go ahead.
All right, thank you, Madam Vice Chair, appreciate it. Item 4, this is the appointments. I want to raise my concern for the SD Sarah, which is the retirement board, the appointment proposed by this item. I don't agree with waiving board policy A135 as part of this appointment. I would like to see the board go through the process and advertise for the vacancy to gather applications and find the best, most qualified applicants to serve on the retirement board. This, per the policy, is supposed to be an ad hoc committee of both the chair and the vice chair. And specifically, item 4 of the policy states that the recommended qualifications for appointment will include demonstrated experience as an executive financial manager in a large public agency or private enterprise, demonstrated expertise in developing, planning, and implementing investment and money strategies, and experience in the interpretation of executive level finance reports and correspondence. And the application that we have before us does not demonstrate nor list any of these recommended qualifications. So I think there's a lot of people out in San Diego County that with this type of background that we're willing to serve. I'd like to see the process play out and not waive the process on this item. So I would like to request that we bifurcate the SD Sarah appointment out of this one, so I can support the other appointments by Supervisor Anderson and the RCAL. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate the introduction. I'll create a little bit of space to have a board conversation about this, and we'll go to public comment, and then we'll go to a vote. Supervisor Desmond, speaking to my appointment, as we all can see, we currently have a committee of a chair and vice chair, which constitutes one. And I am very supportive. This is part of our problem, right, when we haven't taken a vote. So, if we want to delay, I understand. I do think we're going to end up with the same person back again. I think I've done a pretty thorough vetting process. We did seek applications. We looked pretty widely. This is an individual who has a tremendous amount of experience, including at San Diego Community Power, and has been a leading member of our community in a lot of important issues facing our region. So I think she would make a wonderful representative to SD Sarah. But I also, if this is an issue regarding which my colleagues have any questions, I do want to create space to have a conversation and make sure folks are comfortable. So if Supervisor Montgomery Stepp and Supervisor Anderson have any questions now, we can do that, or else we can just go to public comment.
I don't have any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have any public comment on this item?
We do. Thank you, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer. We have 8 requests to speak on this item, 2 in person and 6 requesting to speak by phone. Also note, we received 1 e-comment in opposition. For any individuals that requested to speak on item 4 by phone, please dial into the conference line using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers. I'd like to invite forward allegedly Audra and Mark. You'll have 2 minutes to address the board.
Mark, I really didn't have a lot of time to investigate who the appointments are. And I can say in general that these supervisors are never going to appoint anyone who isn't doing their UN Agenda 21 goals. And unfortunately, people, perhaps the people over here in the panel, whoever advises them, that unbeknownst to them even, that they've been indoctrinated in schools. And Rosa Corey talks about this in her video. I don't have that one right in front of me here right now, but if you look up Rosa Corey, this is the title on YouTube, Rosa Corey Part 1. Corey is Koire. It'll bring up a longer video name beneath the green mask. People need to see that because she talks about people being indoctrinated in schools. And she is an expert witness, California witness in eminent domain, land use, and property valuation for the state of California. She worked for the Department of Transportation. So people need to see that. You need to see these other videos because this is really what's happening here, especially in San Diego, especially in California. We are like the absolute point of in the country of bringing about it, UN Agenda 21. And it's not all right. Oh, see this one from 5 minutes, 28 seconds. See Klaus Schwab saying he's penetrated governments with his young global leaders. Governor Newsom is admittedly a young global leader for the World Economic Forum, as was Nathan Fletcher, who was the chair of this board just a few years back. Most people have heard of him. So you need to see that. This is like 1 minute long. See this on YouTube. Tell me if you think that's okay in our government. See these titles.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Today is just super weird. Thank you, Monica, for having your staff go outside. Appreciate that. Really means a lot. All of you guys should do it. Jim, surprising that. Why do you shake your head like that? Like, why would I care about kids that are being ripped apart from their families? I have a new grandson or child or whatever. It's just weird. Like, how can you even have kids? It's like, I don't know anybody who can, like, I can't even have kids. But I seem to care more about the kids in the county than anybody else up here. It's crazy. Like, and you think I'm crazy for, like, bringing it up? Like, you guys aren't even equipped to be able to be making decisions until you fix the problem with the kids. And, like, quit making faces. Like, that's what's so sad, is that you sit up there and you make faces like it's so ridiculous to talk about children suffering in the county. Like, why does it not matter? Why do kids not matter to anybody enough to say, we got to stop this? We got to make sure, like, yeah, you send people out, but it's like only because the problem is horrific. Like, I feel like, how can we talk about anything else until we make sure that our future is secure? Because the children are our future. That's what people say. That's how you fuck up a generation, is by fucking up the kids. And just like, let's medicate them. Let's put them on all these meds. Let's wonder why they're suffering when they've been kidnapped from their parents and they just want to go home. They just want to go home. God forbid it happens to you, Jim. Like, you literally deserve it too, so that you can fucking get it and go, something has to change.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the individuals that requested to speak by phone. Again, this is for item 4 that was pulled from the consent agenda. We'll begin with our first caller.
These are matters of public interest. Sole source contracts with their potential for fraud, ordinances, both first and second readings, and appointments, among other things, should be in the discussion section, not buried in consent with a number of other items competing for time and attention. After all, some of these boards have multiple candidates, and you can't cover them in the allotted time. All these applicants also should be vetted or tested and the results published as to how much they support open dialogue and consider alternative suggestions. I mean, there are too many people in government, local on up, who do not give a hoot what the people who bear the brunt of their decisions think. You should be discussing these openly and advertising openly for the most qualified candidates. Yes, I agree with Audra that the Polinsky Center abuses need to be curtailed. And
Thank you. We'll now hear from the next caller. For the record, that speaker was Paul DeBold.
My name is Kathleen Lippett. On behalf of the work that I do with the unincorporated community residents, I'd like to comment on appointments. Those specifically put into the 79-page contract for Social Equity Entrepreneur Program. Those put in charge of this program were prioritized. They were formally convicted for drug crimes, and preferably the longer time they spent in prison, the higher their points for the positions that they got. This program is not for the benefit of unincorporated community residents, but for helping people get into the business of dealing drugs and selling them in the unincorporated communities where they are not wanted. This program is also using the same people for educating youth on marijuana. It's not just a case of allowing these individuals to embellish their resumes, which were clearly not, they weren't just embellished, they seemed to be bordering on outright fraud. They committed the equivalent of, at least. There is little doubt that individuals that were put on this contract for no other reason other than the conflict of interest that they would prevent providing objective information. Their anecdotal claims that all of their problems are due to the impacts of the war on drugs are totally unfounded. That does not fit with historical evidence. The county has allowed and encouraged, rather than to recast themselves as the victims of the war on drugs. What about authentic victims? The components of this program, assignees, seem to have been designed specifically for specific individuals. That violates the prohibition against sole source.
Thank you. Now hear from the next caller.
In 2016, VU barred me from acting on election issue that I suspected. And he barred me from doing anything. My response to that is, if I can't act, I have to watch you fail. A comment he twisted to basically say that I was trying to commit sabotage. On top of that, give me a second. Forget that. Let's just go straight to Michael Vu. Michael Vu, before he moved to the Register of Voters, he was under investigation for voter tampering. Where was he in voter tampering? In the vote-by-mail ballots. What he decided to do was someone decided to save his ass, probably a bunch of NGOs, and bring him to San Diego, most likely ACLU. At which point, he decided to remove all security measures. This is after 2003, allowing foreign entities to go ahead and infiltrate our election. That is why we see a 43% increase from 0 to 5 million people not knowing unequivocally that Governor Newsom had no worries of keeping his seat. Over 5 million ballots, over one third of the ballots. All those people, right after that election, right after a record number of people wanting him out, all of a sudden change their mind? No. People don't vote. Foreign entities decided to basically steal our election, and because our board members want to overlook everything, because if they do that, they remain in office, including Jim. That is why Jim, coincidentally, is absent on the days that we're going to be funneling a ton of money into the NGO.
I hear from the next caller.
Hi, good morning. My name is Madison, and I agree with Supervisor Desmond that protocol should be followed. So do not waive policy A135, and people should be appointed who are completely qualified for a position. They should be experts in their domain and be the right fit for the position. This is a really important responsibility you have to make appointments, and it's unusual to request such a change in protocol. And also with appointments, I would say strongly reconsider hiring marijuana industry insiders for any role in youth prevention, education, or public health messaging. It's a clear conflict of interest. You would not hire tobacco or alcohol lobbyists to run youth prevention programs. So why are you making exceptions for cannabis? The industry's primary goal is profit, not prevention. Allowing them to shape the narrative around youth use is like asking the fox to guard the hen house. San Diego deserves prevention strategies rooted in science, public health, and community trust, not corporate marketing goals. Please take the time to really vet who leads these critical efforts and be smart with who you make appointments for. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. Now hear from the final caller. Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that caller dropped off. That concludes public comment on this item.
Okay, thank you very much. I have some comments as well, but before we have a little board discussion, I want to turn it over to Andrew. The clerk of the board docketed this board letter, so I thought it would be helpful. Andrew, if you could explain why you waived board policy 135, what that means. I think I'm particularly interested, like, is this something we have done in the past, and what aspects of board policy 135 were waived?
Thank you, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer. As Supervisor Desmond indicated, the Board of Retirement consists of 9 members and 2 alternates. The board has authority to appoint to 4 seats. The current appointee to seat 5 has a term that expires on June 30th of this year. The vacancy has been posted online since May 15th, 2025 as part of our monthly vacancy report, and we received 1 application. Board Policy A135 sets a process for the selection of individuals to serve on the retirement board for those 4 appointments where the board has the authority to appoint. In general, when there is a vacancy, an ad hoc board committee, which consists of the chair and vice chair, meet to initiate a selection process. That process generally entails application period, setting the dates for public hearings, and any additional procedures for the appointment process. This policy has been waived for all of the appointments since 2014.
That's super helpful information. So just to clarify, this post was posted, has been up for a couple months. We only got 1 application, and board policy A135 has been waived essentially every time for 10 years, and it's never been objected to. Okay, well that is makes me feel a lot clearer. So I'm happy to make a motion to move this item forward.
Would you be willing to bifurcate, to take the SD one separate? I'd appreciate that.
I'd love to make this motion right now, and if it doesn't move forward, we can look at a bifurcation.
A second.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any comments from any of my colleagues? Any other comments?
Yes, I want to apologize to John Sullivan and Nicole Aguilar for voting no against their appointments, as I can't vote for the SD Sarah one. It wasn't bifurcated by my colleagues.
Okay, thank you very much. We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that motion passes with Supervisor Desmond voting no, all other supervisors being present and voting aye.
Okay, thank you very much. We will now go on to item 8. This is strengthening emergency housing for homeless veterans. This, Supervisor Desmond, this is your item, so would you like to make any introductory remarks?
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. This item 8 is strengthening emergency housing for homeless veterans. I'm bringing this item forward to ensure that our homeless veterans have sufficient shelter and support. And I know we've been trying to do this for years, and we've made some success. We've made some progress. We've made about 25%. We've made a good dent in the number of homeless veterans out there, but there's still work to be done. So these are individuals who risk their lives in service of our country. I think it's unacceptable that we still have veterans in San Diego County sleeping on the streets that they sacrifice to protect. I think we owe them just more gratitude, and we owe them more action. And like I said, we made some meaningful progress, but we need to do some more. So far too often when veterans are discharged, they lose access to the very support systems that sustained them while they were in service, and many veterans struggle with the mental health conditions, and veterans are disproportionately affected by both mental illness and substance abuse disorders. So it's our responsibility to make sure there's adequate shelter and in the unincorporated area, and that the services are tailored to their specific needs. And the recommendation is to come back in 90 days with a feasibility pilot program, expanding regional housing assistance programs, and to add beds for homeless veterans in the unincorporated area. And with that, I'll make a motion at this point in time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll turn to public comment, and then we'll have board discussion on this item.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer. We have 9 requests to speak on this item, 2 in person and 7 requesting to speak by phone. Also note for the record that we received 3 e-comments, 2 in support and 1 in opposition. For any individuals that requested to speak on item 8 by phone, please dial into the conference line using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers. As your name is called, please come forward. You'll have 2 minutes to address the board. I'd like to invite forward allegedly Audra and Mark. I'll ask you to please state your name for the audio record.
Mark, so you state, while the county has made important strides in reducing homelessness among veterans, there continues to be a significant need for focused, sustained efforts. Well, that's just an oxymoron. It's bullshit. You haven't made important strides or the problem would be solved. This is arithmetic, people. This is what 4th graders could do, especially with a pocket calculator in their phone, okay? We pay an incredible amount of taxes, and any problems that are produced are because of government and their intentional devastation to our social well-being in society, which has never been shown more than the trash fee they're trying to install now with the city of San Diego. And also, these things are related. And this is not unintentional. It's a UN Agenda 21 goal to make us poor, because when people are poor, they can't be free. When you can't travel freely, when you can't afford to travel, when you can't afford good weapons to protect your family and your country, you simply can't be free. The Founding Fathers knew this. And here's some videos everyone needs to see. I'm running out of time. You need to see this from 3.5 hours to about 10 minutes till 4 hours. These are all titles on YouTube. That's him describing the complete corruption in the way your taxes are spent. See this from 6 minutes and 40 seconds to 24 minutes? That's on the financial system and what a total scam. Government partnered with the scam instead of stopping it. Wealth inequality. Our 3 lines, the rich, middle, and poor, just diverged in the 80s.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
My person uses the name Audra. Yep, it is a business to keep people homeless, and then it's like, let's put everybody and make them dependent upon the government, right? As long as we have all of these programs, that's the whole point. It's kind of like your little study in Vienna is really just going to show you how to put people in government housing. It'll be cool, right? As long as everybody's in there and locked in their little zone that they can't leave, right? And then they'll steal all the children and probably put them in concentration camps, Kimberly, like the Kinsey Institute, right? Yeah, so it's just sad because it's like, if we really wanted to fix problems, we actually could. Like, I talk to homeless all the time. I'm exposing things that are going on at Tent City that, oh my gosh, who's putting this out there? Who's giving the information instead of actually making sure that the people aren't dying and being raped by staff and, getting food poisoning. So it's like all of the things that anybody offers, like the government, it's pretty much like stay away from it. And it's sad because in North County, there was a safe sleeping in Oceanside for veterans. And you know who came in? Dreams for Change, the one running Tent City. And you know what they did? They totally transed it out. They were like, this is trans. We support trans. And so you know what happened with all the veterans? They're like, oh my gosh, I don't feel safe here. What happened to our American flag? There's just a pedophile flag up there, but hey, that's all right. So I mean, if we really cared about veterans, we probably wouldn't do that. And it'd be awesome is to like offer people, they could build their own tiny home. Like these people, they build their own structures anyway. And if you gave them something to do, they could build their own community quicker than you guys could and for way cheaper. But hey, let's charge, I don't know. It's like, as long as you can just keep making money off these people, that's what you're going to do, Jim, because that's all you care about. It's fucking sad.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the individuals that requested to speak by phone. We'll start with our first caller.
Paula Bold, I think strengthening emergency housing for homeless veterans is a good idea. Veterans have served their country honorably and deserve better than to be homeless simply because their military-related benefits expire. But I also think that just because the program happens to be for veterans, there might be ideas generated which might help with other housing initiatives. Perhaps a better way to cure the mentally ill or drug dependent among the regular homeless population. Or maybe you'll actually find out that cheaper construction than standard money-wasting stuff, like 3D houses or tiny houses or shipping crate houses or adobe houses, maybe that works better. It's a great opportunity to experiment. This sounds like a fairly limited program. It might also keep veterans' kids out of foster care in Polinsky, both of which are known to create abuse, and therefore also waste a lot of county money, which is basically our money, which we're getting tired of wasting. So, again, I think this is a good idea, a sort of reasonable experiment, as it were. So I hope you pursue it. Thanks.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the next caller.
Clark Andrew Potter, before you start my time, I'm going to say that I was on the queue, and I don't know why you said that caller dropped off. I was on the queue, so I'm going to hope that you honor the fact that I was on I was on for that item, and I'm going to say that item because I worked hard on that speech. So here we go. Consuelo here. You're not appointing voices of reason. You're not elevating critical thinkers or people willing to challenge corrupt systems. No, you're appointing more of the same, indoctrinated, obedient, system-serving worker bees who do exactly as they're told. People programmed not to lead, but to comply. These chairs won't defend the people. They'll defend the agenda. They'll nod in agreement while you drag this county deeper into digital surveillance, deeper into global compliance, and deeper into the UN's master plan. Because that's what this is really about. Lining up the right people, not to govern, but to enforce. To roll out the policies that lead us straight into the 15-minute cities, digital IDs, geofencing, and total control. All of this while the public remains distracted, surviving paycheck to paycheck, trying to educate their kids at home, begging for access to their own money, and unaware of the full-scale transformation happening behind closed doors. These aren't leaders being appointed, they're gatekeepers, carefully selected to preserve a system that is collapsing by design, because let's face it, anyone who actually thinks, questions, or speaks up would never be considered for these seats. You don't want leaders with vision, you want managers of collapse. So appoint who you want, fill those seats with the same recycled voices of obedience, but just know the people are waking up, and soon they won't be asking for a seat at your table. They'll be flipping the whole goddamn fucking table over. Okay, so that was my item 4. Can I go on to this item?
10 seconds remaining, Consuelo.
For this item? Because that was for my item 4 that you saw that I was on the queue, but you said I dropped off, which I didn't. I was still on. And I took a screenshot just to prove it. So I will send that screenshot in, and you will have to give me more time.
Consuelo, you have 10 seconds remaining.
Yes?
Consuelo, you have 10 seconds remaining.
I know, but I heard that. Thank you, Echo. But the fact is that I was on the queue. Done. Injustice. Worker bees, slaves.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the next caller.
Hey, it's Truth. Unlike what this item claims, San Diego does not have the unique responsibility to support veterans. Every single city and county, the entire country, shares that responsibility to show respect and care for those who serve so they wouldn't have to. You all should be advocating that our active military gets paid much more. From my own veteran parents' experience, there was barely enough money to literally keep the lights on. The type of stuff you guys campaign on but have no real life understanding of. Obviously, I'm excluding campaigning Jim from that critique. But if increasing beds designated for veterans who are homeless, as well as increasing funding towards certain programs for them is as easy as a yes vote, why didn't you guys do this sooner? But these are all Band-Aids. Why doesn't the county offer a program to help veterans transition to civilian life? That's not asking much for the county to not wait until another veteran becomes another number lost to homelessness or suicide. If you got money for lawyers for illegals, you've got plenty of money for everything for our veterans. Thank you.
Thank you. Now hear from the next caller.
Over 1/3 of our ballots are possibly fraudulent. Board of Supervisors doesn't want to look into it. And all you have to do is monitor the voter rolls. As soon as a person becomes inactive, you could reactivate it with a registration card. No purge will go ahead and stop these fraudulent ballots from staying on the voter rolls. That is helpful. That is done by the ACLU. Coincidentally enough, another NGO, an NGO directly affecting the way we vote, our security in our elections. They're the ones telling our Board of Supervisors that the election is secure and don't say anything. Don't respond, don't acknowledge it, and as long as you go ahead and don't say anything, it can't be held on you. That is, unless if the person decided to intentionally get a restraining order to prove the fact that you guys are negligent of your duty, that you refuse to go ahead and acknowledge these problems. So I decided to mask my questions in major insults. I escalated that until finally I told basically any female that was blocking me that she can't understand normal thinking. That just shows the hypocrisy in the DEI initiative where treat everyone equally. You could go ahead and call a dude a dick, but heaven forbid you say the C word to a woman, the judge will say you are trying to kill her. That is why I have the restraining order, isn't it? The lawyer's right there. She could go ahead and agree. I mean, tell everyone right now that the reason why I said that is because I told Tara, Cynthia, Aaron, Heidi, and I can't remember her name, Natalia or something, that you've...
Thank you. For the record, the speaker was Gambler Hermes. And Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that concludes public comment on this item.
Okay, I turn the floor to my colleague, Supervisor Montgomery Stepp.
Thank you so much. I just want to thank Supervisor Desmond for bringing the item forward and express my full support for it, and any continued efforts to support veterans who are unhoused. If this item does pass today, it would provide us with future opportunities to better provide the shelter and support that our veterans need to get back on a path of permanent housing and self-sufficiency. The county's RHAP program is a promising program from which we can build and serve the specific needs of veterans who are unhoused. I'm looking forward to the county and also reviewing the county's analysis that should come back from this. And with that, I will second the motion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We have a motion by Supervisor Desmond, a second by Supervisor Montgomery Stepp. I obviously think this is incredibly important, very strongly in support of support for our veterans. I do want to note that it is a zero-sum program, right? So because RHAP is already at full capacity, this would essentially mean carving out existing beds and prioritizing veterans. So I do think it is useful to just take a moment to acknowledge that we do need more funding for these critical programs, because absolutely we need to be doing more and doing better for our veterans, but not at the expense of the rest of our population here in San Diego County. So I'm going to be supporting this item today, and also going to be continuing to work to find additional resources so we can expand capacity for these kinds of really critical homeless programs. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. With that, let's take, Supervisor Desmond, Supervisor Anderson, have any comment? No. Okay. Getting ready to vote? He's in a hurry? Okay, please take a vote.
Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present and voting aye.
Okay, great. We now move on to discussion item, responding to potential federal impacts from the One Big Beautiful Bill Act to protect food security, housing, and health care. So we will begin with public comment, and then I'm going to make some introductory comments along with my colleague, Supervisor Montgomery Stepp. But we'll first start with public comments.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer. We have 28 requests to speak on this item, 20 in person and 8 requesting to speak by phone. Also note for the record that we received 224 e-comments, 181 of those in support, 25 in opposition, and 5 neutral. For any individuals that requested to speak on item 9 by phone, please dial into the conference line using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers. As your name is called, please come forward and stand on the arrows until it is your turn to speak at the podium. Because there are 10 or more speakers on this item, you'll have 1 minute to address the board. I'll ask you to please begin by stating your name for the audio record. I will be calling you in groups of 3, so I'll ask you to please listen for your name. I'd like to invite forward the following individuals: Maureen Glazer, James Calloway, and Sonali Kumar. If I've called your name, please come forward.
Hi there, good morning. I'm Maureen Glazer. I oversee the San Diego County's no-cost transportation program. Over the last 2.5 years, through the support of the county, we have assisted over 500 riders with more than 55,000 life-changing rides. One such rider, Brian, stood before this board last month and shared that through this program, and I quote, "I've been able to take care of my health, stay connected to my community, and live with more dignity. These rides are not just about getting from one place to another. They've reinstated my freedom and given me my independence back. The budget voted on this morning will leave hundreds of vulnerable seniors like Brian across the county without the rides that they depend on to access medical appointments, get to the grocery store, and to connect with their community. We stand in strong support of item 9, and we urge the Board of Supervisors to explore new funding solutions to ensure local seniors.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning. James Calloway, Senior OA for Self-Sufficiency, proud SEIU 221 member. I'm here in support of this agenda item. I appreciate the board taking proactive steps to prepare for the severe impacts of this impending federal action, impacts that will fall hardest on the most vulnerable in our community and the frontline workers who serve them. My request is simple. Keep those community members and your workers at the center of every decision. Protect the dedicated workforce that keeps this county running, as this workforce can be quickly lost but would take decades to rebuild. If we allow staffing levels to erode, the damage will snowball. And let me be clear, this is not a workforce that's afraid of challenging or stressful work, but when resources are cut and staff are lost, the remaining employees can become discouraged by an unachievably high workload. Eventually, you start feeling like you're always behind, no matter how hard you work. That's what drives even the most passionate public servants to walk away. Thank you.
Thank you. Final call for Sonali Kumar. We'll call 3 additional speakers, Rudy H., Jarrell Howard, and Carissa Puentes. If I've called your name, please come forward.
Hello, Board of Supervisors. I am Jarrell Howard, 12-year as self-sufficiency eligibility worker. I am speaking in support of item number 9, where the board is wanting to get ahead and put in place a plan to protect the programs federal government has put forward to cut over the next few years. Food security, housing, health care, veteran services, and others. This would impact our community. We, the county workers, have been coming forward to the board for years and still expressing the high workload and not enough workers. Self-sufficiency services are already in a tough situation to keep these numbers looking good for the board, which is on the back of the eligibility workers. We are grateful that you are willing to come forward, and we ask to work together and come up with the best plan to move forward and create a stronger self-sufficiency department for workers and community.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning. My name is Rudy. I'm a human services specialist with the county and a proud SEIU 221 member for a year and a half, and I'm here to speak in support of item 9. In my job, I'm an eligibility worker. Myself and my coworkers deliver valuable services to those overworked, underpaid, most vulnerable in our society, where they do not all have the opportunity to come and speak for themselves here due to the need to work just to barely get by. Our people need this kind of momentum to continue moving forward and advocating for the average working person. Look to keeping your staff and not to strain them. Look to having enough of them to support the community and the constituents you serve. Look to the 1% for additional funding. Thank you.
Thank you. As the next speaker is coming forward, I'd like to invite 3 additional speakers, Melinda Forstay, Joni Vargas, and Alana Martinson.
Hi, my name is Carissa Puentes, and I'm a proud SEIU 221 member and human services specialist with the county. I'm here to speak in support of item 9. I know firsthand the importance of timely processing with our various self-sufficiency programs. The turnover rate within our department does not allow for sufficient knowledge building and affects the ability of the staff, including myself, to adequately provide our services while remaining compliant with all regulations across multiple programs. We work so hard to provide vital services to over 900,000 county residents, AKA your constituents, and it would be a detriment to the communities to not consider the financial and staffing needs of our department. You all have the ability to change lives and adjust staffing levels to allow for a more manageable workloads, and it's time to make that priority number one. I appreciate all that these ladies have done to fight for us, but it's time that we get everybody on board. Without us, San Diego County would have nothing. It is time to prioritize the longevity of county workers and the needs of our communities. I'd like to add on to the gratitude given by my peer, Jarrell Howard, and your productivity on this matter is greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning. I'm Melinda Forsty, and I'm the president and CEO of Serving Seniors, and we serve thousands of older adults across the county. I first want to thank this board for being champions for older adults. Programs like the Shallow Rental Subsidy and Innovative Housing Trust Fund has helped keep thousands of older adults housed and helped create housing. As you know, many of our seniors rely on programs like Medi-Cal, CalFresh, in-home supportive services, and housing assistance to meet their most basic needs. These resources are not only life-sustaining, they're preventative. They help people remain healthy, independent, and housed. Without them, we risk seeing more seniors pushed into homelessness or forced into higher levels of care. And that is why we strongly support item number 9, which would enable older adults to have access to these resources and the staff to help them navigate these proposed changes. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Morning. My name is Joni Vargas. I'm a healthcare worker and a proud member of SEIU UHW. I'm here to urge you to take a public stand against what's being called the big, beautiful bill. And let's be honest, there's nothing beautiful about slashing Social Security, Medicaid, and veterans benefits programs that millions rely on to survive. Medicaid is the largest payer of long-term care in the U.S. Cutting it means fewer nurses, closed clinics, longer ER wait times, and worse outcomes, especially in rural and low-income communities. As a healthcare worker, I firsthand know how fragile the system already is. This bill would make a national crisis even worse. Let's call it what it really is, the big BS bill. Big slashing, betraying seniors, soldiers, and struggling families, and for what? More tax breaks for billionaires. This isn't about party lines, it's about an ideology that says, I'm fine, your suffering doesn't matter. That mindset has a history and it's deadly. We've seen what happens when policies are shaped by disregard.
Thank you. Thank you. As the next speaker is coming forward, I'd like to invite 3 additional speakers, Gloria Cruz Cardenas, Karina Pugh, and allegedly Audra.
Good morning. My name is Alana Martinson, and I am the Government Relations Manager with Serving Seniors, a nonprofit that serves over 1.6 million meals annually throughout all of San Diego County. We wish to express our strong support of item 9, the county's plan to respond to the proposed federal cuts to Medi-Cal and SNAP, services which a majority of our clients depend upon. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of the cure. These preventative services provided by these programs save not only lives, but taxpayer dollars in the long run. Keeping our neighbors fed and housed prevents us from paying higher costs further down the road. I urge you to support this plan, not because it is just the right thing to do, but because it is the smart thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Hi, my name is Gloria Cruz Cardenas. I use she, they pronouns. I'm the Chief Impact Officer at the San Diego LGBT Community Center. The center supports this board letter, and although we are very grateful to have our LGBT affirming homeless prevention program receive an allocation in the revised budget, we know that it is a significant reduction to what it takes to update and operate this program and maximize its impact. The actions laid out in this board letter are the bold actions we need from this board, and as many of us are facing significant federal cuts set by this federal government. We thank you for bringing this forward, and we look forward to continue to support you. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good morning. My name is Karina Pugh. My pronouns are she, her. I am here on behalf of the San Diego LGBT Community Center in support of item 9. As federal funding cuts and the budget reconciliation bill threaten programs that support our most vulnerable populations across the nation, you, as elected leaders of San Diego County, have the opportunity to be bold leaders by adopting this board letter to identify key budget priorities in order to preserve services that so many San Diegans rely on. This action will ensure that San Diego County is well prepared to meet the the moment, retaining access to these life-saving and life-changing resources, including LGBTQIA-affirming adult housing services, which have been immensely successful. Thank you for bringing this board letter forward. We ask that you support this board letter to position our region and county as a prepared strategic leader in the nation. Thank you.
Thank you. So next speaker is coming forward. I'd like to invite 3 additional speakers: Brenda Nunez, Drusilla Willis, and Vanessa Regosa.
My person uses the name Audra, so it's sad that there's a domino effect when you guys, do certain things like racketeer with money. I mean, where'd the $24 billion in California go for homelessness, right? Who knows, in someone's pockets. But those are the types of things why there's needing to be cutting of fraud, waste, and abuse, and it's unfortunate because people are going to suffer because of it. But if, money was being spent wisely and how it should be, then this kind of stuff wouldn't take place. But then you got to think about, how many illegal aliens did you guys house? How many got health care? How many got food stuff that should have been going to residents and people that actually live here and not invaded the country? But when you engage in stuff like that, funding is going to be cut. So you guys need to actually take a responsibility for that. And what you should be more concerned about is AI running the government. But hey, we're already spending $1 billion on that, right? At least we're going to do a study for $300,000 to see what the risks are after already spent the money.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning, Drusilla Willis. How y'all doing up there? I didn't know I was speaking, but I am in favor of that, number 9. That's all I gotta say. I didn't know I was speaking. So thank you for all you do.
Thank you. Call 3 additional speakers: Josh Bohannon, Mark, and Rachel Hayes.
Hi, Board of Supervisors, thank you for seeing me. Josh Bohannon with Father Joe's Villages. We're an affordable housing developer and a behavioral health provider. I'm here to give some context and an example of what's going on already. Earlier this year, Father Joe's received $7.5 million from HUD to build affordable housing. And then a month later, the new administration rescinded that award. It costs about $70 million to build 170 affordable housing units. Without that $7.5 million, we're not able to get financing from other institutions, other grants. You need that original seed money. So what we're seeing already is that our affordable housing is delayed. It's going to be pushed back by a year because of the resending of the federal dollars that were promised to us as a community. And I think this board item helps take into consideration that promises aren't kept on the federal level of the duty to care for the people on the local. And so we're in support of this item. Affordable housing is just one example. There's so many great pieces in this board letter, but I wanted to share some context. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Rachel Hayes with Lived Experience Advisors. Okay, I'm for this because if they cut federal funding, I would have been really, pardon my language, screwed over because I'm on Medi-Cal with California, whatever, and I just had emergency gallbladder surgery. Without that funding, I wouldn't have been able to have it, and it was the size of a softball, and there's no way I could afford that. No way in God's green earth. And I had my teeth done. Couldn't afford that either. So, Medi-Cal and Blue Shield and all those little programs that we have out there are so important to help people. And I'm making sure I'm getting everything done before Trump does his thing, and that's slash our funding. Next are my eyes, glasses and all that good stuff, because we know what he's going to do. He's evil.
So next speaker is coming forward. I'd like to invite the remaining speakers in person: Julie Porter and Natalie Raschke.
Mark, so of course I'm for feeding people, and I don't like seeing the programs diminished. Unfortunately, they're incredibly corrupt. So for example, housing, Monica and Joel are talking, well, they're going now to go to the Vienna social housing field study. Here are some critiques of that. The hidden failures of social housing in Red Vienna. The new report details how the city's famed social housing system is suffering from diminishing affordability, deteriorating quality, and funding shortfalls. About 60% of Vienna's population, or 2 million or so, live in social housing where rents are kept low by the city. Apartments are often small. In other words, it's subsidized. This is unsustainable. It's destroying our middle class. People need to see these videos. Klaus Schwab saying he's infiltrated our government, well, different governments, including ours. Wealth inequality, they've destroyed our middle class. And instead of fixing that and having a livable wage, they're trying to make the middle class pay for it.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, Natalie, Lived Experience Advisors. Thank you for having me today. I like what Josh said about the context. I'm here to provide myself as context. If HUD gets cut, I'm one of those people with my 4 children and my husband that will be homeless in less than a year, again. You can do everything right. I'm a college graduate, married, had a 401k, had a savings, had 3 cars, a motorcycle, have 4 children in the public school system. And look, here we are. The point in time count said it went down, but the children registered in the Unified School District went up 16%. We have children that are registered in this county that are going to be homeless again. We cannot let that happen.
Thank you. As the next speaker is coming forward, I'd like to recall speakers previously called: Sonali Kumar, Brenda Nunez, and Vanessa Regosa. If I've called your name, please come forward.
Julie Porter, Lived Experience Advisors. I'm here to speak in favor of agenda number 9. How it would affect me, I will use my lived experience. Hopefully I'll be getting a new hip. My right hip will be replaced. If I lose my Medicare, I'll just have to deal with the pain, which is pretty bad. Some days I don't make it out of bed too far. It will be devastating. If I end up losing any of my housing, going back to the street, I believe will kill me. And I've got some more living to do. I want to have some more fun in life. So again, I'm here to speak in support. Thank you for your time today, and thank you for hearing me.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the individuals that requested to speak by phone. Again, I'll ask the callers to please state their name for the audio record. We'll begin with our first caller.
Hobo. Board Policy A72 is about setting reasonable agenda deadlines and standards. It should not be waived absent an emergency. Now, you and staff should have carefully considered this in advance. I mean, months ago. You know, we could have guessed at the contents of the BB bill. Some of you may have. And it's silly to wait until July 22nd for action on this. Congressional action is expected in early July. You want to find $5 to $10 million for affordable housing? You should have listened to Mark Dorian and I repeatedly mentioning cheaper housing. 3D printed, tiny houses, shipping, crate, or Adobe homes.
Thank you. We'll hear from the next caller.
Consuelo, these so-called programs aren't helping people. They're traps designed to keep people dependent on the very system that created their suffering in the first place. And to those still pleading with this government, keep this in mind. You should never have to beg a government that claims to work for you. But that's the inversion we're living in, where the people serve the government and not the other way around. And be real. Any service government offers is usually subpar at best. The way they treat the people receiving those services is often cold, condescending, and outright dehumanizing, because it's never really about helping, it's about controlling. And this bill doesn't represent relief. It expands control, deepens debt, feeds the war machine while pretending to offer hope. But what it really offers is managed collapse, keeping the public quiet, compliant, and exhausted enough not to push back. This government doesn't want solutions, it wants submission. And it buys the submission with stress, scarcity, and dependence.
Thank you. Hear from the next caller.
Well, let's go ahead and take a look at what we've already learned in the Board of Supervisors meeting so far, that they need to go ahead and make sure that they take care of themselves, giving a good paycheck to basically their lawyer and the people protecting them on the board, preventing us from actually talking. On top of that, you didn't add more money to the beds or anything like that. You just told the NGOs, stop giving our services to homeless people. That is why 80% of our homeless population are citizens, not migrants, not people who just cross the border. So when Trump is deporting these people that you're providing services to, those services become open. Is that what we're talking about? That you want to go ahead and disguise the fact that all the services that you guys are begging us for money for is not going to the people, because that number is going up. People are moving out at an alarming rate. And you're worried about Trump.
For the record, that speaker was Gambler Hermes. We'll hear from the next caller.
Hello, my name is Christine Stensberg, and I'm with Jewish Family Service. I am speaking in support of item 9 for multiple reasons. First, the critical need for CalFresh, which is a lifeline to help individuals put food on the table. Second, reliable senior transportation. This is a lifeline for homebound older adults. Without continued funding, hundreds of older adults would be unable to access medical care, and it helps individuals age in place with dignity. Third, supporting Medi-Cal transformation, which improves health outcomes and also helps clients move into secure housing. We respectfully call on the county to find ways to preserve these critical services. Thank you.
Thank you. Now hear from the final caller.
It's truth. Why did the purple shirts who funded Tara Thunberg's campaign back for TDS? Oh, because they want a cut of the money. How horrible if there's extra reporting requirements on Medi-Cal benefits. We want illegals or socialist leeches to get exposed now. SAP and EBT fraud need serious oversight on who is using our tax dollars without any requirements. Behavioral health needs to be cut. B.S. Bergen bloated that department into his own personal bureaucracy. The tenant legal aid is 100% politically motivated. Renters are exploited by groups like ACE. LGBTQ plus affirming homelessness prevention has no details on what that actually is. We can assume trans, but do those who identify as gay require affirmation? I don't think so, so how is that equal access? The only thing you guys need a comprehensive strategy for is to get used to no longer having our tax dollars go to unlawful programs like they were before, including Jewish Family Services giving money to illegals. California's $12 billion deficit and your own $140 million deficit are worse than Trump's one big debt bill, and yet everybody's silent about that effect.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer. That concludes public comment on this item.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to just say a couple remarks to open us off, and then I'll turn to my colleague who was my co-author on this, and then I actually do have some questions for our county team. Today's item is about facing hard truths and preparing for what's coming. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act, which has already passed one House of Congress, would gut the federal safety net while fundamentally and profoundly shifting the cost burden to counties like San Diego. The bill is currently constituted that has already passed, as I said, one house, slashes housing and food assistance, shrinks Medicaid funding, and adds massive new red tape without giving us any tools, strategies, or funding to manage the fallout. I want to be very concrete about what's at stake. 900,000 San Diegans rely on Medi-Cal. Over 400,000 depend on CalFresh. 130,000 of them are kids. More than 10,000 households use Section 8 vouchers just to stay housed, and that's just within the jurisdiction of San Diego County, not including the housing vouchers received by some of our partner jurisdictions. Some may argue the county is already doing better than state minimums on processing times, and that is true, but let's be real, state minimums are not the bar. This is extremely important and relevant when we look at Medi-Cal. So again, to return to what is already passed, one House of Congress, about 350,000 individuals in San Diego County would potentially see their health care benefits revoked. In order to keep benefits, they would have to move very quickly to maintain eligibility by proving that they have met eligibility work requirements. Many of these work requirements are quite difficult to verify. The current bill also fundamentally changes how often you have to re-verify. So going from 1 year to 6 months, and imposes other burdens. I think what's really critical to note is that in other locations where this has occurred, significant number of people lost access to health care. And I want to talk a little bit more about that later. So if this bill moves forward, we're looking at twice yearly Medi-Cal redeterminations, new work reporting rules, as well as deep cuts to housing, behavioral health, and food programs. That means more paperwork, more people losing coverage, even if they qualify. Essentially, a death by red tape. So again, I want to just zoom back and say, I appreciate the extraordinary work of our county team on our budget. I know we will be talking about that later today, and this is not, I think, the venue to talk about the budget. What I'm really focused on is how do we get prepared for what's coming down the pipeline. And we've been talking about this for 6 months. Now we have a much clearer understanding of what that is. I think it's imperative that we begin making a plan, and what this proposal does is to ask our county team to come back to the board with a strategy, or potentially with a set of strategies, both in terms of workforce, but also an assessment of what kind of financing gaps and funding gaps are likely to emerge, so that we can have a grounded understanding of the fiscal challenges that we are facing, as well as the staffing and operational challenges that we're facing. I want to sort of be clear to our county team. I think this is not asking you to fix the problems. I believe they are too large for you to fix on your own. But it is asking you to do the analysis, to come back to the board with some options, some strategies, and some analysis, and most importantly, to be really clear-eyed on what problems we cannot fix alone. For example, I know that there has been talk of a cost shifting of 25% of SNAP. That would lead to about a $300 million hole in our county budget. It would be helpful to be concrete and clear about the budget holes we're facing, as opposed to burying them or trying to pretend that they are not there or not real. So I did just want to I know that I don't want our team to think we're asking you to solve these problems. I think we're asking you to come back with some options and strategies that the board could discuss of how to address these issues. And I have some additional questions for our team before we move to board discussion. But before that, let me turn the floor to my colleague who was my co-author on this item.
Thank you so much, Supervisor Lawson-Remer, for partnering with my office on this. And I do also want to thank the CAO for bringing forward a balanced budget, which I know we will discuss later, so won't go too far into it now. But the purpose of this board letter is really to discuss what and try to prepare us for potential federal cuts that are anticipated under H.R. 1. I think this is an extremely important discussion so that we at least know what's ahead of us and what our options are on the table. H.R. 1 represents one of the most aggressive federal disinvestments in core safety net programs in decades, and it could shift hundreds of millions of dollars in costs to the county. Under H.R. 1, the entire cost of CalFresh food benefits, which is $226 million annually, could be shifted to the county. The county may also become responsible for administrative costs, which total around $50 million. The administrative workload for self-sufficiency services staff, who we heard from today, would also more than double due to a shortened Medicaid retroactive period, an increase to twice yearly recertifications, and new work requirement verifications. At the same time, the proposed federal budget proposes a 44% cut to HUD funding, which we also heard about today through our public comment, threatening core housing and homelessness programs. This includes completely eliminating the HOPWA program for individuals living with HIV/AIDS and tenant-based rental assistance programs. We must fight to preserve programs that work, like our Innovative Housing Trust Fund, which has funded over 2,000 units of affordable housing and another 3,000 units in the queue. The Senior Transportation Program, which provides no-cost transportation for older adults to access health care, nutrition sites, and community resources. Tenant Legal Services, which provide eviction counseling and outreach prevention legal services for tenants and landlords in financial need. And supporting our partnerships in CalAIM and Medi-Cal Transformation, which allows the county to carry the work of a more equitable, coordinated, and person-centered Medi-Cal system. Therefore, we are asking and directing the CAO to immediately assess staffing and service capacity to absorb these new burdens. We're also calling for a full fiscal strategy by September to ensure that we don't leave residents behind when federal support falls through. I think that this is the fiscally responsible way to make sure that the County of San Diego stays nimble and responsive to the federal cuts that are coming our way. I truly believe that this is really about switching our costs from one thing to the other. I've said on this dais several times that I feel that if these supports fall through, we will be paying for people to go in and out of our system, whether that is jail, whether that is another system, we will be paying for it. We just won't be providing these types of services that I believe and that I have experienced in my personal life have been stepping stones to a better quality of life and have provided people an opportunity to give back to society. And so I am strongly asking my colleagues to support this today because really it is about having a plan for San Diego County. That's really what this is about. So thank you for the time, and I think the Vice Chair said she had additional comments. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So yeah, I did want to ask our county team a couple questions. Obviously, there's a lot on the table that I think we are concerned about. And just to reiterate, the proposal asks for a staffing and operation readiness assessment by July. So we have some sense of what we need to do. And then by September, a fiscal analysis. So we have a better sense of what the fiscal gaps are likely to be. So I do want to kind of better understand, or at least give our staff an opportunity to share publicly what I've had an opportunity to have conversations with one-on-one and bring that to the board for a conversation. So I think the first set of questions I'd really love to talk through self-sufficiency. I think one of the aspects of what's on the table right now that's of greatest concern is the increase in eligibility requirements and what that would do to Medi-Cal and healthcare coverage in San Diego County. So is Rick Wani here? Is Rick here? Rick is here. Hi, Rick. Could I have Rick come up? Thank you. Hi, Rick. So Rick, as folks probably know, is our lead person on self-sufficiency. And first, Rick, I just want to say 4 years ago, we embarked on an ambitious initiative, the Make the County Work for Everyone initiative, where we really looked at how do we do a better job of making sure that folks who qualify for food benefits, for healthcare benefits, can get those benefits in a timely way and reduce barriers to vital social safety net services. And you led the charge on that, and it was a lot of work and a long journey, but I think it has clearly paid dividends, because I know that we are doing a very good job, if you look sort of statewide, at how quickly we're able to process claims and all that. So I just really wanted to say how much I appreciate that and acknowledge that. I think what I wanted to better understand is, given our current workforce, if we have new, pretty significant eligibility requirements, like work eligibility requirements, verification of workforce participation, as well as processing twice the number of applications, because processing time, re-verification is every 6 months instead of every year. Given our current workforce, are we going to be able to keep our same success and speed at verifying eligibility without any additional training or resources or staffing?
Thank you for the question. Good morning, and Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, members of the board. Thank you for your question. So yes, as pointed out, the potential changes in the federal Medicaid program, the two biggest being work requirements for those 19 to 64, as well as the now potential twice per year redetermination for Medicaid, Medi-Cal here in California, would be unprecedented. It's never existed in the program's history, and it would be a significant challenge and workload for our staff, and also would be a significant impact to our, as mentioned, 900,000 Medi-Cal recipients. There would be additional paperwork, work verifications, redetermining the general eligibility twice per year. And so the impact would be that what we've seen in some other programs that have a more frequent redetermination, that folks will sometimes not submit their paperwork. They can fall off the program. They lose eligibility temporarily, come back on, reapply. And these create significant paperwork challenges for our customer recipients, as well as for our staff, who have to gather that information, validate it, and then continue the eligibility and validate the work requirements. So for our, again, almost 900,000 recipients here in San Diego, and for our staff, it would be a significant challenge to try to complete that task and also maintain our performance metrics that we have been working on for a number of years.
Thank you. That's very helpful. Just a moment on the performance metrics. I think another kind of element of the federal bill that was on my radar was the shortened length of retroactivity. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think currently it's 3 months and it would only be a month, which sounds to me like we need to be even faster, not slower, if you only got a month, or else you're kicked off healthcare. Is this correct?
Yes, that is Vice Chair, that is a proposal in the bill. And so the 3-month retroactivity to access Medi-Cal coverage typically will occur most often in a hospital setting. Folks will go to the hospital, they may not have insurance or Medi-Cal, and that is their entry point to start the process. And so we currently, under the regulations, can grant Medi-Cal eligibility going back 3 months, and this bill proposes to shorten it to 1 month, which could potentially leave individuals not covered for those 2 months, depending on when they applied or when they were referred to the program.
That's very helpful. And again, I wanted you to kind of come up and share with the public and with the board this information, because when I'm looking at what's going on with the bill, the federal bill, it's not obvious that this is such a huge impact, right? That like having work requirements or requiring re-verification could end up having such a significant impact. I want to note, I've heard from a number of our hospitals, basically all of our hospitals, Sharp, Scripps, et cetera, like significant concerns about people who should be eligible and would be eligible for Medi-Cal, both currently and even under a regime that does require work requirements, but losing access to health care and health insurance solely because of red tape. To me, that's sort of like the worst of government, that you can't see a doctor because of red tape, even if you qualify and should qualify to see a doctor. So I think to the team, I know this is for Kim, but for the whole team, I think really thinking through like, what do we need to do to make sure that folks who don't lose access to other healthcare coverage, and like thinking outside the box, like how many folks do we need? Do we need to hire more people? Do we need more self-sufficiency workers? What kind of training do we need? Do we need partnerships with like the workforce partnership? Like what does that look like to ensure that we are processing people in a timely way? Especially given that there's going to be like a lot more work. So I think that's helpful. And Rick, and please tell me if this isn't in your experience, then it's okay. Please feel free to defer. But you did mention other programs. I do know that there was, I think, a program in Arkansas or Alabama that implemented something similar. Is this in your expertise? You did mention other programs that had been implemented in other places that ended up with real challenges.
Yes, I am familiar with some other states that have had some challenges with implementing at the state level Medicaid work requirements. We have 2 other large programs, our CalFresh program and CalWorks, or TANF, Temporary Assistance to Needy Families, which have had for a very long time twice per year redeterminations for eligibility. And those programs, and this is nationwide, do have increased requirements in terms of collecting information for eligibility. A lot of folks will drop off and then come back on the program. It's a term called churn, sort of a washing machine effect. And then there's a lot of off and on in those programs, again, nationwide. Medicaid has never experienced that since its inception.
Okay, thank you. That's very helpful. And Rick, again, if you don't know this off your top of your head, do you have some sense of, speaking specifically of SNAP and Medicaid, the distribution across districts of sort of impacted individuals, people who are on these programs? I think maybe by district, if you have it or know it.
We have a report, and we would be happy to share that with you that we publish monthly. So,
if you could share that with the board, that would be great.
Yes, absolutely.
All the board members. Yeah, yes. Thank you so much. Okay, I also, thank you, Rick, appreciate that. I also was hoping Nadia could join us.
Good morning.
Thank you, Nadia. So I'm particularly interested in the June 11th memo from staff regarding federal cuts, in the budget. Discussed cuts in federal funding to behavioral health. It was specifically mentioned a $10 million projected cut through the FMAP reduction, as well as other potential cuts to behavioral health through an 80% versus a 90% rate. So, yeah. Which would be beyond just the behavioral health that the county provides as a county plan. But if you could talk a little bit about what those cuts are, and also what that funds, like what are we doing with that money? right now?
Sure. So those are our core sort of Medicaid benefits. And so if it reduces, it means that the county share is going to be higher. So if you think about $10 million, we would need to find $10 million.
Or if we couldn't find it, I guess.
Or if we couldn't. Yeah.
I think let's
What does it
assume,
look like?
what do the cuts look like if we can't find the money? Because
Certainly.
Ebony doesn't have any more couch cushions.
So yeah, it would look like either reductions to substance use services and mental health services. So these are Medicaid benefits, and these are available to folks who are eligible throughout our county. This would mean either reductions in those services. So these are things like outpatient services, crisis stabilization units. We would have to look and sort of assess where we would make those reductions. It also means slowing any increases or enhancements that are underway. So we had outlined to the board the mental health optimal care pathways model and the substance use optimal care pathways models over the last several years. And so it would mean, we would not be able to move forward in expanding access to care as outlined in those. So this again is like substance use residential treatment services. These are all core services, and we know we have a ways to go to get there, but this would kind of put some of that on hold because we wouldn't have enough sort of as the county match to cover the cost of those services. So it would really slow our growth. So those are sort of two of the pieces that would really be impacted. The other thing is if we were looking at sort of shifting funding, so these services are treatment services, so they're Medicaid benefits, we could look at reducing other services that are fully county funded. So those are things like recovery residences, long-term care beds, those are fully county funded. So if we would continue sort of our Medicaid services at the level that they are now, we would have to shift money to cover that loss. But again, that then results in a loss of either recovery residence bed days or nights or long-term care beds, which we also, as we're building those out, it's a loss in those services. So again, it creates bottlenecks and slows our growth and being able to expand and enhance those services.
So just to summarize I think a lot of us think about kind of the specifics of the services. So what I'm hearing is that there's if we can't find some additional money somewhere, if this bill moves forward, there's going to be either cuts to long-term care beds, cuts to residential recovery, or cuts to outpatient services, or cuts to crisis stabilization units.
Yeah, anything where we bill for Medi-Cal, which is so recovery residences we don't, long-term care beds we don't. Those are fully county funded, they're not Medicaid benefits. But any of those other services we would either cut or we would need to shift the money out of the long-term care and recovery residence, those county funded beds, and then reduce those to cover that loss. So it's sort of I would say amount of county funding is finite. So we would have to look and figure out how to shift those funds.
Okay.
But it's going to be a loss in service no matter what.
Somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Nadia. Appreciate it. And then I do have another question. Not for Nadia. And I just thought of it. So if you're not prepared, it's okay. It was a question for David Estrella. But if you're not prepared, it's okay. I think it would be just helpful. I think in the memo, it indicated that there was anticipated around 40% cuts, potentially 40% cuts to housing funded programs. And I think it would just be helpful to talk a little bit about what are those housing funded programs that, we'd have to figure out how to cut, basically.
Thank you for your question, Sharon. Thank you to the board. So a variety of federal funded programs. I'll start with our entitlement programs, community development block grant, housing opportunities for people with HIV/AIDS, emergency solutions grants.
Wait, slower.
Oh, sorry. Emergency solution grants and home investment partnership funds. So those programs are entitlement programs that come from the federal government to help us provide housing and housing-related services for low-income individuals. So, of course, it's all a proposal at this point. We don't have our funding for that would become effective in fiscal year 26-27, in other words, next year in July. We have our current funding allocations, so we know.
No, I know, I understand. I was asking, just kind of given what the proposal is, what is funded by that kind of chunk of money? And if we had to cut back 40%, given that that's what's in the bill, what's in that?
So some of that money is used for affordable housing development, for permanent affordable housing development. So a 40% cut means that there's less money available to subsidize units that would be permanently available for low-income individuals. Also services that go along with that, and so it's a variety of services that help individuals access housing or receive benefits. And also part of our federal funded program is the Housing Choice Voucher Program, which is commonly known as Section 8.
So that's the 10,000 vouchers.
That's the 10,000 vouchers. For our jurisdiction, it's actually closer to a little bit to 11,000. And so there, of course, we manage to the money that we have available. We know that our funding this year, through December of 2025, we anticipate roughly a $2 million shortfall. The federal government has made, through the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, has made shortfall gap financing, gap funding available. We have to apply for it. We don't know if we'll receive those $2 million. So the impact to families ultimately is, if cuts were to be made, were to happen next year in 2026, families, what we would do is we would probably, families might have smaller units, families might have adjustment payment standards, so they might actually pay more than they would at this point, up to a certain amount. And then, of course, we're already mitigating by not pulling from our wait list. So at this point right now, we're not accepting any new
So our
admissions.
strategy to mitigate is that all the 100,000 people on the wait list won't get off the wait list, is sort of what I'm hearing.
We have to be in a holding pattern subject to funding, yes. And so ultimately, we manage to the money as it becomes available, and we won't know what next year's funding allocation will be at this point until several months as the budget goes forward. So we anticipate, we try to.
It's okay. I really just thought it would be helpful for you, based on the memo, to have greater clarity. It's sort of invisible when you talk about 40% cuts to a program, like what's in it. So that's very helpful to give some, especially for the public, because not everyone got to read our really well-crafted memo from the team. So thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Yeah. Okay, thank you to our team for, I really just want to take an opportunity. You all wrote us a really helpful memo, but I think it's important for the public to have access to that information as well. So thank you for taking the time to share that out for the public. I'll turn it over to Supervisor Anderson. Oh, did we have a motion? Didn't you make a motion, Monica? I did
not, but I will.
Okay, we have a motion by Supervisor Montgomery Steppe, and I'll be happy to second. Joel, sorry, Supervisor Anderson.
Thank you. I have some follow-up questions, and I'm not sure who would be the best person to answer. But by the way, the memo was outstanding. It was very, very helpful, and I thank you for the briefing on the memo. But as I read through the memo, these are all the proposed things. These are not the guaranteed things. And as I read the newspaper, every week it's changing and evolving. Could we have somebody from staff, or maybe Ebony, you can address that? Are any of these things hard and fast at this point?
Thank you. Through the Vice Chair. At this point, we haven't seen final action. We do have some additional presentation scheduled for later this afternoon during budget, but in the meantime, to be responsive to your question, I'll ask our Director of Economic Development and Governmental Affairs, Matthew Parr, to just briefly talk about where we're at in the process.
Yes, thank you, Ebony, and through the Vice Chair, Supervisor Anderson, thank you for the question. Yes, at this time, these are just proposals that are making their way through Congress. H.R. 1 is a legislative package to implement President Trump's legislative agenda. That process has been playing out over the last number of weeks, and it's currently in the U.S. Senate. Should have more clarity on whether or not this passes the full Congress before July 4th.
With that being said, by the way, I want to thank my colleagues for bringing this forward. Those proposals will definitely affect our quality of life here in San Diego County, and we should be prepared in addressing it. And by the way, the memo is outstanding. I was so pleased to see that you were so far along, the whole staff was so far along looking at the outcomes and preparing for that. That's excellent work. So thank you for that. One of the issues I had with this is it requires notification of people that may or may not be impacted. And I have 200,000 people roughly that live in the unincorporated. My phones will be ringing off the hook, and I'll have to explain to them, well, it may happen. What I'd rather, and what I could support, is drafting a letter to our congressional delegation and to our state senators. When I say state, I mean our U.S. California representatives, explaining the needs and the concerns and how it will impact us, so they know firsthand. You know, the problem with legislators, and I'm not saying this is a problem, the issue with legislators is they're not in these meetings each and every day. They see and hear the programs on a very high level, but they may not see where the rubber meets the road. I think it's incumbent upon us, while time is available, for us to let them know, hey, these are the changes that we need, or we're not going to have enough money to meet the needs of their constituents. We're all in the boat together. We may not be rowing in the same direction, but nobody wants to swim, so let's not sink the ship. And so I think that we can make this a bipartisan plea for our constituents. So if what I'm asking for is that I'd like to take a friendly amendment to remove the notification, however, add that we do a letter in that we empower our staff to reach out to those congressional and Senate delegation immediately to make sure that we're on record. With the second largest county in California, I'm sure Los Angeles is going to have the same issues. If the counties band together and are heard, it's going to have impact. The second thing is, we touched on it, but there's a lot more to this. It's not just federal. We've got cuts at the state level that are going to hugely impact us. We're talking about IHSS workers and the cuts that the state's proposing. I'd like to do a letter to the state right now, because their budget is going through the same process. I don't want to see any of my constituents or any San Diegan suffer because we didn't notify people that had a choice to make sure that these people were taken care of. So if you're willing to accept that amendment, I'd be glad to vote for this, but I'm not going to make work from my office by notifying people that their benefits may be cut, because we don't know if it is going to be cut. And then they're going to ask me, well, what do I need to do? And that's not my job. My job is to make sure that we do our job. And our job is to make sure our congressional and state delegation understand what we're facing through their choices.
Let me just respond quickly. Thank you, Supervisor Anderson. I love the idea of the letters. I think it's great. I think it'd probably be wise to send the letters to individuals in the Senate and congressional delegations who so far have been in support of this bill, and not those who have voted against. That doesn't seem like a great use of time. But I do like the idea of raising our voices, but for those who've not done a good job of representing the interests of San Diegans. I want to note, I think there might have been a little bit of a misunderstanding on the notification plan. This does not move forward with a notification plan for people whose funding might be cut. It doesn't move forward with anything at all, except, number one, asking the CAO to develop a plan to come back to the board. And number two, it would only be implemented if and when HR 1 is finalized and signed into law. So the specific question is to direct the CAO to develop a notification plan to alert CalFresh recipients of service level changes if and when HR is finalized, signed into law, and report back by July 22nd with a plan, et cetera, et cetera. So that is, there's no proposal here to do make work. It's a proposal to, if this bill is signed into law, we would have a plan ready, and we'd actually have to vote on it as a board before it was implemented.
If we needed that plan, see, that's going to take us off our target. Now we're going to be working on a plan. What I'm willing to vote for is, if it does move forward and the state cuts move forward, I'm willing to say, notify, come up with a plan and move forward. We don't have to make a plan and then come back and decide. I'm sure, I want to stay laser focused on preventative. I don't want to look at that. I'm not interested in supporting that at this time. I'm not saying I'm not opposed to supporting it after we know what the facts are. But if I'm spending all my money on what ifs before I know what is, then our staff is spending time chasing their tail, preparing for stuff that may not even come to a head. I'd rather we focus 100% of our energy on avoiding having that situation by all hands on deck, notifying Congress, notifying our state legislators. And we have an equal amount of issues with the state. And this is all focused primarily on the feds. I get it that we don't, orange man bad, we don't like him. But tall
I'm
man
happy to
in
support the. I'm happy to support the
bad
letter to
too.
No, I mean, let me just say.
So
I'm happy to support a letter to Sacramento. Yeah.
May I finish? So I want to focus on that. I'm just telling you, I'm not going to be voting for going through a notification program before we even know what it involves.
Okay.
So if you want to take it as a step program, I absolutely am there for everything but.
I brought this forward in large part because I think we need to prepare. I think that we are a county of 20,000 employees, an $8.6 billion budget. I think we can walk and chew gum at the same time. We can both send a letter to the congressional delegation and the Senate and the governor, while we also develop strategies to sort of mitigate impacts to our own operations and make sure that our constituents are informed and empowered. I don't think it's an either or. I think it's a both and. I think that's what good governance looks like. And I mean, frankly, to me, I think it's a service that we owe to the folks that we represent, to make sure that they're empowered with information and that they're not left out and left behind, and that we are ready to mitigate whatever happens, at least have a strategy so that the board is not sitting here in a month or 2 months saying, oh Lord, now what do we do? Staff, go take another 2 months and come up with a plan. I'm always a person, I'd rather have a plan before we have the crisis. The crisis is now, and I'd like to get the plan in place so that we're able to rise to the moment. So I am happy to support the two letters, but I would not I would not undo the planning.
Okay, so then why didn't you plan and put in there which discretionary board-directed programs currently run surpluses that money could be used to mitigate this? It seems to me that it would make more sense to think about where exploring the funds that may be available or diverted to backfill any emergency. That to me is a step that I get that everyone's running for Congress. I get that setting notifications gets us out in front of folks. Having people who are suffering worry more about things that may never happen makes no sense to me. It's having our staff chase their tails to go after it. And look, you can do whatever you want. It's your emotions. You don't want my vote? Don't take my vote. But you're allowing perfect to get in the way of the good. And I'd like to see us look at what discretionary funds could be used and what funds are available that haven't been spent yet that we could claw back to backfill higher and greater needs. We have limited resources which should be going to the people of most need. So to me, that's not in this. That would be an element that would be great in it. And I'd rather see staff time doing something productive like that than worrying about notifying people that we may not even have to notify if we do our jobs properly.
Sir.
That's where I stand. You're not going to convince me otherwise. You are welcome to talk as long as you like.
Okay, sir, I appreciate you putting your position out. I'm just objecting to the mischaracterization of the item, because the item says direct the chief administrative officer to develop a comprehensive strategy to address the most severe impacts. This strategy should include identification of potential funding sources that included but not limited to unassigned fund balances, mid-year budget adjustments, state and federal grants, intergovernmental cost sharing, philanthropic partnerships. I think it's a pretty clear that that's the core thrust of this, is go look for some money and come back with a plan. So again, not to beg for your vote, but I just object to the mischaracterization of the item that is very clearly written in number 3. Supervisor Desmond.
Vice Chair, can I jump in here as the maker of the motion and also co-author of the letter in response to what Supervisor Anderson has put here, or put out for us to discuss? I will be brief. I agree certainly with the letters. And I do also think that letters should go to all of our representatives, even if the tenor is different, because as the supervisor said, folks, unless they've been at this level, don't understand what the true impact is. And so it could give those who are against what this, the impact that this could have on the county a bit more knowledge and power to have that back and forth within their discussions that they're having at the federal level. So I agree with that. Also agree with sending letters to the state. I will say, big picture, the reason why my focus is on the federal government is not because I feel how I feel about the president. That's the issue is, because the federal government is doing what they're doing, it is causing the state to have to do what it's doing. It doesn't mean that there won't be impacts at the state, but there's sort of there's a response that the state has had to have because of potential cuts at the federal level. That I just want to state, for purposes of this board letter and the policy conversation, that was my intent, right? But understanding that at the end of the day, we should be pushing the state to do what we're trying to do here, which is these are the programs that are going to impact us, that you all are looking at cutting. So bringing their attention to it, I find the same issues where the impact, they may not know the true impact. Some may, but I know some certainly don't. And so I think that that's my feedback on the letter piece, that to anyone who will listen, we should send, because some of the information is going to be effective no matter what side they're on. As far as the number 2, I will say I've, with notification plans in the past that have been brought forward, I've had, some of the same issues. Like, we don't want to alarm people before before we know concretely what the impact on them individually will be. This is, for that very reason, in my mind, worded differently, where none of this is happening until we know what H.R. 1 is the true impact it will have, because we don't know that yet, right? And then once it is signed into law. Now, considering the breadth of all of the recommendations, there is a lot of planning in here without the notification plan. There is. And I would venture to say that county staff has an idea. They've had to notify people before, so there's some infrastructure for that already. So I would be willing to either, I don't think we need to change the language, because I actually think what Supervisor Anderson is concerned about is addressed in this. You just said we won't change your mind, so I respect that. But I do hear you, and I think that it is addressed in number 2, because we're not trying to move forward ahead of what decisions the federal government will actually make. We're not trying to negatively impact county staff or our own staff for them to not have answers for people who would call based on a notification of what ifs, right? My name is on this letter, and I wouldn't approve of that moving forward, right? I've expressed that on this dais before. So I would say that we should discuss a little bit more about what this looks like without number 2, but that the concerns that you addressed are mitigated in this recommendation. I would say just my reading of it. So I'm going to leave that out there and then see what our further discussion brings us. But thank you, Vice Chair, for allowing me to go through that.
Thank you very much. Supervisor Desmond.
Thank you very much, Madam Vice Chair. I don't know, I'm trying to take a little higher look at the whole reason we're in this mess is because the state and federal government have spent trillions of, well, the state is 12 billion in debt, and the federal government is 36 trillion in debt. So we either raise taxes on everybody to try to make up for that, or we have to make some cuts. And so that's the dilemma. We don't have infinite number of resources. And I agree with many of the people that came up and spoke on the senior transportation, on the homelessness prevention and housing support for everybody, tenant legal services, these types of things that came up. I wish we had unlimited funds to pay for all of those things, but we don't. And either we got to tighten our belt somehow with all the amount of debt that's out there. Even Governor Newsom proposed freezing Medi-Cal enrollment now for undocumented immigrants. I mean, they've spent more than they thought they were going to spend. Luckily, we here at the county, we're not in deep debt, and we're going to try to keep it that way, and hopefully coming up in the budget comes through. But one of the biggest expenses the federal government has is Medicaid and Medi-Cal. That's the hugest expense. And I'm all for, or one of the biggest expenses. I'm all for verifying for eligibility. We got to get rid of fraud, waste, and abuse. And if it takes a little bit more personnel or power to do that, that way the people who actually really need the benefits are getting them. Instead of people that go come on and come off, well, there's a reason they're coming on and coming off. I don't know if they're not keeping up the eligibility, but I think there has to be some sort of message for fraud, waste, and abuse, and making sure if you're on, the government dole, that you have to verify eligibility. I don't know if it's once every 2 years or whatever the case may be, but this bill is not done. This is still, if you read the news every day watching this thing, it's about to be changed either dramatically or not at all. We really don't know. I'm not a fan of sending out these scare letters until we really know what's in there or what's going to happen. I don't think we should do any of the notifications, and based on it may or may not. I want to make sure everybody that's qualified gets the benefits they need. Absolutely. But we have to look at where can we do some belt tightening, where can we prevent fraud, waste, and abuse. And like I said, and I do take in a little bit of concern on item 3. It's this, just addressing the severe impacts of anticipated federal cuts. And again, it's been mentioned many times, there's going to be state cuts too. And we have to take a look at that as well. I don't mind looking downstream and saying, what's the plan? But I'd rather wait until this actually gets passed. And some of this, and I don't know, I went to AI here to figure out when some of these things take place. And it looks like the Medicaid portion wouldn't take place or effect until December 31st of 2026. Now, I may be wrong, just got that off the internet. But these things are not going to happen tomorrow, even if this thing passes. And it looks like the way the House and the Senate are trying to work this out is have the bill signed by July 4th. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but probably shortly thereafter. And so this is not, we don't have to send out letters right away, especially some of the implications may take place sooner, and some are taken later. So if there's time, I'd like to see that consideration put into if and when we do any notification. So I'd rather wait until, and I think it's smart to, Ebony is probably already, I think her and her staff are smart enough to know, hey, this is coming, something's coming. So we're going to take a big picture look at this. But I'd rather, before we get too far down the line, wait until this thing is signed and then look at, okay, what and when are these things going to take place? And then what do we tackle? What's the priorities going forward? I think this is a little bit too soon today. And there's not unlimited amounts of money, and unfortunately, if you're not belt tightening to fund all these services, you're raising taxes. And I think people are kind of fed up with the amount of taxes they're already having to pay. So it's a double-edged sword, and it's a fine line we got to walk in solving these issues and going forward. We don't want to cut anybody's benefits at all, but there's only so much funding, and we have to make the best of what we have. So with that, I'll shut up. Thank you.
Supervisor Anderson.
I would like to remind everybody, and thank you, we passed a review of how to implement AI, and we've asked everybody, and they're doing a study right now. So when we're talking about these subjects, these are good topics to talk about in the study of how AI perhaps could help enhance your job in tracking this stuff and doing stuff. Instead of doing it manually, I think that our computers can do it for us. So I just would like to remind people to make sure to think about these real life experiences and how much work it requires, and put that in part of the study for needs moving forward in our next computer contract that we send out for. I just want to make that reminder, and I hope that's helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, I want to just sort of speak back to Supervisor Anderson to your comments about the letters. I think it's a good idea. I'd be happy as a, author of this and seconder of the motion, if this is amenable to my colleague, to include the sending of those letters as appropriate. Obviously, different topics. The topic for the state is really focused on the IHSS piece of it. The topics for the federal government are more focused on the federal funding streams, but I'd be happy to include that as a letter. I'm also open, Supervisor Anderson, to language that would clarify that with this notification plan, that it would not move forward until HR 1 is finalized and signed into law. I do think it's important to empower our constituents with information, but I do want to agree and just reiterate that this is not proposing that we move forward with notifying anyone of any things that might happen. It's really a plan to let folks know once it does happen. So if there's clarifying language, I thought that was fairly clear, but if you have clarifying language you'd like to include to make it extremely clear that that is the intent and purpose, I would also be open to that. So that is my gambit to you, sir.
I think I was clear.
Okay.
The answer is going to be a no vote.
Okay.
I don't want staff spending time on it. I don't believe it's going to take 2 months for staff to get back to do the notification. I think it'll take minutes. I'm not interested in politicizing this. I want to stay focused on the prize. I want to deliver for my constituents and all of San Diegans. I want to do things that affect change moving forward. When we get to that crossroad, we can get this done with one motion, and Ebony doesn't have to come back with a plan. We can simply say, please notify the following folks. I don't see it as that. I see this as being more political and less effective. So I won't be supporting that if it's in there. That's what I said before. That's what I'm saying now. You can ignore what I say, and perhaps Jim votes for it.
Supervisor Montgomery Steppe.
First, I just want to say publicly that I did receive a message from a constituent that tried to call in that was not able to, but wanted to speak on this item, just saying that there are also a lot of veteran families that utilize CalFresh, and just wanted to put that on the record for the constituent. I also think that it's important that we are being proactive around this entire situation. Again, the language does not move us on anything before all of this comes back to the board, all of it. And that does include the notification plan. And, I've always said throughout this entire process that I want to certainly hope for the best. Hopefully we don't have to do any of this, but also plan for the worst. And I think if we care about people, as we say we do, we have the responsibility and we have the tools in front of us to plan for the worst case scenario for folks, especially when we are talking about human beings here. There's so much impact. And so I just last ditch effort to implore colleagues to support this, because there's just nothing wrong with us having a plan. And this will not hit our offices or even county staff in a way that they don't have answers for folks who have questions. By the time all of this is finalized on our end, it will have been finalized on the federal level. So just want to, it literally says, that this notification plan to alert CalFresh recipients of service level changes if and when HR 1 is finalized and signed into law. I just want to be clear about like what the facts are and what this says here in the board letter. I'm glad that I hear all 4 supervisors wanting to move forward with some sort of plan. I'm just, the fact that we're kind of going through this process at this, such a small, I think, issue around the board letter is really a shame. I hope we can come together and do the best thing for our constituents. Thank you.
Supervisor Montgomery Stepp, just as the maker of the motion, I was the seconder, I put on the table a thought and might be able to earn Supervisor Anderson's support. If we add in these letters, which I think we've both voiced support for, and we bifurcate the motion, so we vote on number 2 separately. We vote on everything except number 2, and then we vote on number 2 on its own. Would that be amenable to you?
Yes, it would be.
Okay, great. Then we will, the motion, just to restate it, is everything in this board letter, including these letters to our congressional delegation and the governor, the president, and our state senate and assembly members regarding these potential cuts, adding that in, and we will bifurcate 2, so that will be voted on separately. Andrew, is that enough clarity for you? Great.
All right, Jim has his hand up.
Supervisor Desmond?
I support the letters. I still think it's premature moving forward.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, please take a vote. This is on the first half of the motion.
Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that motion passes with Supervisor Desmond voting no, all other supervisors being present and voting aye.
Okay, thank you very much. Now we'll just address the second half of the motion, which is number 2.
Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that motion fails due to a tie vote. And pursuant to the board's rules of procedure, the board may continue the item for consideration at a future meeting. If the board takes no further action to continue this specific recommendation to a specific date, then the item will be placed on the agenda for the next regular meeting on July 22nd, 2025.
Okay, thank you very much. And I just want to give some grace and appreciation to my colleagues for talking through a difficult item, making some compromises on the dais, and coming together to tackle what I think is extremely significant issue facing our region. So thank you very much to everybody for that work. It is noon. We could move on. About how many speakers do we have for item 10? 13. To my colleagues, would you like to take a lunch now, or do you want to run through item 10? Lunch. We had a strong voice for lunch. Okay, we will break now. How long will that take for us to do item 10? Probably. Okay, we're gonna be back here. We'll try to be back here in about half an hour so that we can do 10 before item 10 before time certain budget. Yeah, 12:40. 12:40.
Board is in recess until 12:40 this afternoon.